And action. All right, we're live tonight. No, hey, let's call this meeting to order this evening. We've got a pretty darn good room here tonight. And I see we got 21 people online. I think that's going to put us at about 50 people in attendance, plus a few more. Tonight, I am going to ask us to kind of go around the room and do introductions, since we do have a good crowd here in the room. Then we're going to go online and do introductions as well. Steve is going to help me out with that when we get to that point. Tonight, we do have, again, another busy agenda. We've got several updates going on. We do have a couple of agenda changes coming on here to rearrange, because some of the updates have just been a little bit longer. So we had to rearrange a couple of items. One item will be removed, but we'll get to that here really soon. So welcome tonight to the Yampa-White-Green Basin Roundtable. We've got a lot of new faces in here tonight, and that I want to recognize these folks for being here. We've got more online, as I said. So with that, I'll start. I'm Alden Vandenbrink. I'm the municipal representative for Rio Blanco County. Also the chair.
Brian Romig, lead water administrator, Division 6 Water Resources.
I'm Steve Inkmeyer, grant chair in Moffett County Municipalities. I'm Ken Brenner. I represent the Upper Yampa Water Conservancy District, and I chair the Public Education Participation Outreach Committee and the Yampa River Integrated Water Management Plan.
I'm Madison Moxworthy. I work for the Yampa Sustainability Council, and I'm the technical representative on this.
Hello, my name is John Peters, and I'm with Colorado statewide land trust.
My name is Rebecca Breedmore. I'm with the Colorado River District. I started about 2 weeks ago, and I will be taking over for.
I'm Jeff Rodriguez with the Colorado Water Conservation Board. Russ Sands, also the Water Conservation Board.
My name is Frank Galfone. I'm the domestic water provider with also on the grant.
I'm Davis at large member of the
Amy O'Toole, Little Snake River Conservancy District Board member. Mike Kimball, and I represent the Jim Conservancy District as a board member. Doug Overton, I'm a Rio Blanco Commission.
Holly Hendrickson, White River Douglas Creek Conservation District Executive Director, and I am the state and house appointed basin.
I'm Jeff Myers. I'm a rancher from Southwestern Route, and I'm an at-large member of the Roundtable.
Jeff Comstock, I work for Moffett County, and I'm an at-large person on the roundtable also.
Go ahead.
Bob David, I'm from Little Snake River Valley Conservation and Conservancy District.
Welcome.
Matt O'Toole, I'm from this one.
I'm Larry Hicks. I was lost. Somebody said it's free pizza. I'll just sit down and see what
Haley Cunningham, I'm the water education coordinator for the Basin Roundtable for our youth education.
I'm Will Myers. I'm the ag rep on the round table.
Linda Shin, Hot Hub Water Conservancy District.
Welcome.
Jay Shane, Water Conservancy District board there.
Katie.
Oh,
You too.
I'm busy in my job.
I know.
I'm Katie Camplin. I'm the reporter for the Basin Roundtable.
I'm Brent Lee. I'm with the Little Snake River Conservancy District board member.
Happy Stanko Community Agricultural Alliance is my day job, and then I'm a couple of liaisons for the Yampa-White-Green Basin Roundtable.
Excellent. And we had
Everybody hear us online?
just a moment. Can everybody hear us online well? Thumbs up. Thank you. Someone just slipped in just to the left of me here.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Aaron Light, Colorado Division of Water Resources.
And now someone else just walked in through the door and casually sat down, taking his hat off. Welcome.
Thank you. Chris Collins.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
I got here late and didn't have any seats left on the third train. Jonathan Dollar, I'm the Savory Little Snake River Water Conservancy District and the Powder Basin member of the Roundtable.
Excellent, thank you. Then online, Steve.
Okay, so let's start with who I don't know. Is there somebody on a telephone number 970-312-1952? Who's that?
My name is Holly Cremines. I'm just a citizen.
Okay. Chuck Whiteman,
Yep, Chuck Whiteman and Meeker at large.
Corey Williams,
I'm the hydrology investigation section chief in Grand Junction with USGS.
Tom Gray,
Yeah, I'm the Moffett County representative on the roundtable.
David Torgler,
I'm David Jordler. I'm with Town of Oak Creek.
Doug Munger, Doug, are you still with us?
He was checking his catalog. So he'll be back.
Okay, Elizabeth Chandler,
I'm with the PAC coordinator for the White River Integrated Water Initiative.
okay, Hallie Cunningham.
Oh, that's me. I
Oh,
just have to share my screen later.
okay, sorry. Heather Sackett,
Hi, Aspen Journalism. I cover water issues in the Colorado River Basin.
Jennifer Holloway,
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Holloway. I'm a Basin Roundtable member. Sorry I can't be there in person. It looks like a really fun group. And I have to say, I love the owl. It makes being online so much more awesome.
Julie Baxter,
Yeah, hi, Julie. I'm Julie. I'm the Route County Municipalities rep.
Lisa Brown,
Hi, this is Lisa Brown, Water Resources Engineer with Wilson Water Group.
did we do Jennifer Holloway?
Yes.
Okay. Mindy Figueroa,
Hi, I'm Mindy Figueroa. I'm a water commissioner for the Division of Water Resources.
Robert Sakata,
Hi, everybody. Robert Sakata from Sakata Farms in Brighton, Colorado, and I'm a board member on the CWCB.
Robert Shelley,
Hello, I'm Bob Shelley. I'm Resource Stewardship and Science Chief at Dinosaur National Monument.
Sean Welder,
Hi, I'm Sean Welder, and I'm with the Yellow Jacket Water Conservation District. Thank you.
Sonia Macy's,
Hello, everyone. I'm Sonia Macy's, recently elected Route County Commissioner.
Steve Jameson,
Hello, Steve Jameson with WW Wheeler and Associates, just listening in to educate myself tonight.
Tim Winkler, Tim, are you out there? Tom Gray? Oh, we already did, Tim? Okay. We already did, Tom?
Yep.
Oh. Travis Day,
Hello, I'm Travis Day and I'm Rio Blanco County at large.
Vince Wilczek,
I know he has audio issues quite a bit, so.
okay. I think that's everybody. It's hard, they jump around.
Yeah, it is.
Who did we miss?
Who did we miss? Anybody online here? Raise your hand. Sounds good. Moving forward. Couple of housekeeping things before we move on. If you do have a question online, please be courteous and raise your hand. If I don't see you, yell at someone. I'm looking for a couple of folks in here that will probably remind us if we do miss somebody online or have somebody up. And please, if those online, have your cell phone mute until you need to speak, please. Thank you. Lastly, guests that are not Basin Roundtable memberships that are with us tonight. There's some sign-in sheets. Please do sign in if you would, please. That will definitely help our recorder do her job. And then there's also sheets back there for committee assignments, if there's folks looking for committees, because we're always looking for assistance on those committees. So please do feel free to join in with that. So with that, I'm on item number 3. I'm going to move forward, approve and modify the agenda. I know I do have 2 modifications I would like to suggest. Item 7A on the agenda, visiting with Kara and David. They had asked to be moved to a later date. They have some more information, but they don't feel it's concise enough and prepared to bring it to the roundtable. So I said, fine, let's pull you off. So that item is stricken from the agenda. And then Ken visited with me earlier, I believe it was yesterday, or the day before, and asked, because he's got a few more items, and we would like to move him to item 8A and just cycle the other 2 down if we could, please, just because he's going to require a little bit more time. So.
Move to approve the agenda as amended. Second.
We do.
What's the topic that we're gonna add at 8A?
8A, there is no topic. It's being stricken.
I thought you, Ken was.
7A. Okay, Ken has got just Peppo. It's just Peppo. That's all it is. They've got quite a bit of information to share tonight, so.
They've got 20 minutes. Do they need?
Yeah, it's C on, it's C on 8. That's I just wondered that more.
No, I'm looking at my previous draft agenda. I'm sorry. Yes.
So we're not adding anything under 8.
No. Sorry about that. But item 7A is being stricken.
Okay.
Okay. So that would be the only change to the agenda then. Motion still stands?
You made the motion. Yes.
Okay.
Second still.
And okay, so we do have motion and second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Just waiting for a delay. Opposed, say nay. Motion passed, moving forward. So we do have the approval of the January 2000 or January 11, 2023 minutes. Did everybody had a chance to review them? Any additions or corrections?
To approve the minutes from January 11, 2023.
Frank, motion.
I'll second.
Who was that? Tim? Mike? Sorry. Mike with the second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Pass, moving on. Jeff, Jackie, and I see we do have Russ Sands, so I'm gonna kind of presume you guys are all gonna kind of work together. So Jeff, please do have at it. Great.
Okay, so I didn't see Director Brown on there, but if you are out there, if you want to add to anything, by all means, please do. But not a ton of stuff to update the roundtable on this cycle, but just kind of wanted to call your attention to a few things and then provide a couple updates for you all. And some kind of timely reminders too, that I'm sure you're all aware of, but just trying to be helpful. So one thing is the turf replacement program, that is up and running. The application period closes March 31st for that program, and I'll drop some links in the chat when I'm done here. One for that, and then the other thing that we wanted roundtable membership participation on is the C9 Roundtable Summit. This is an event to hopefully create some greater alignment among the IBCC, the CWCD board, and the roundtables across the state. And so we're asking the roundtable members to provide us with a little bit of information in terms of help us kind of plan the agenda for that event. The last one we held was in 2019, and I think Ken's probably gonna talk a little bit more about this in the IVCC update, but, you know, Ken's been pretty influential in helping us draft this survey and will be, you know, helping us plan the agenda for that. The tentative date for that is Tuesday, November 14th. To kind of piggyback on the November board meeting. It'll likely be in Denver, but we still are trying to figure out the location and other details for that event. We are planning another event for the governor's directive at Water Congress. He mentioned a drought summit. And so we are in the midst of planning that event and just wanted to, you know, get you all to save the date for that. That'll be a 2-day event, May 31st and June 1st at History Colorado in Denver. And this will be really similar to the event we held in 2012, but an event to kind of focus on climate data, drought lessons learned in the last 10 years, and projects in the water plan, and also things that we're kind of implementing already, you know, for drought resiliency and things like that. Couple other reminders for you all. Just a reminder, there is a CWCB WSRF deadline April 1st. So coming up here, I think you guys have some projects on the docket today. But also just wanted to throw this out there for you that the deadline to approve projects that will count towards the cap for this fiscal year is June 1st. So that June 1st CWCB deadline. Also wanted to ask if you all will post the PEPO statewide initiatives document that was drafted to your websites and things like that. We have it posted on our website. I'll drop a link for that document just so you all have it. And then I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to update you all on. And of course, we'll take any questions. Russ, if you have any questions for you.
Russ, why don't you elaborate just a little bit on the C9 summit concept and what we hope to accomplish?
Sure. I think Jeff covered it well. I mean, just for history, and many of you will be really familiar. I think well, and I still miss him all the time. Jim Pokerant on River District did a great job of really heading up the kind of West Slope Caucus is what it was, and was kind of done for years. And then on the East Slope side, you know, there's a little bit less consistency around that. And in the past, back when John Stolt was around, we did a few statewide summits. So the Colorado 9 Roundtable Summit, C9 Summit we did in 2019 was we really used that as a leverage point to kind of kick off the next phase of work of how we're going to think about the basin implementation plans and the water plan and what we learned from the tech update. And now I think, you know, we've just seen, and maybe some out of just what we've all lived through with COVID and everything else, but just a real hunger to get together and have time to really have meaningful discussions. I think even when this came up at IVCC, and thanks for helping. Ken Brenner is now IVCC PEPO rep officially with Lisa Darling, but when this came up, there was a lot of encouragement around and not just being talked at, but having some workshop time. But you know, whether it's IVCC roundtables or board members, I just hear a lot about wanting some good time to talk and dive into issues. And I guess I kind of see this as maybe, you know, if we have success and people like the idea, it could be something that we kind of do annually, like we've done before. These other events tried to do that could really seek to almost be a state of the water for alignment with roundtables and IVCC and board for people to feel heard and kind of understand what the topics ahead are going to be in the places to kind of provide input.
I think that's the key concept here is to encourage collaboration and communication between the roundtables. Jeff took the initiative of setting up a meeting with the Denver Metro. They actually reached out to us and said they were interested. And so Jeff and I and Tom and a few of us, I think Al was on that call, interacted with them for a better part of an hour and had a good conversation. And that's been followed up by opportunities with both Colorado River District and
Colorado River Basin Roundtable.
Colorado River Basin Roundtable, as well as the Gunnison Basin. So, and you know, some of you have been to the Western Slope roundtable meeting where representatives from all of the 4 basins on the Western Slope showed up. The idea is that just, you know, not just be able to have Russ and his staff give us an update on the latest, greatest, everything that the state's working on, but to have us actually talk to each other and share our ideas, how we structure ourselves, how we operate, what are our most important things that we're trying to get accomplished, what are our best success stories, what lessons learned can we share. So that's the idea. I want to really encourage you all to try to take the survey. It is one of the shortest surveys you'll ever take, unless you want to add a lot of verbiage on your own. But what do you want? When you go to a roundtable meeting that's statewide, what do you want to walk out of there and say, boy, I'm glad I went because what was that? And what's the format that you think we should be using that will help us accomplish that? So I think that's.
There was an email, I believe Patrick sent out an email already with it, with the survey. There'll be a reminder April 1st again, and all roundtable members are encouraged. Doug, yes,
Yeah,
please.
just letting you know quick, I did the survey today. It's fast.
Yeah.
It's fast. Yeah.
You can also scan that little QR code that's on the screen too, and it'll take you right to it and you can answer. I think
You can do it right here while you're in this room.
maybe a handful of questions or something like that. You know, opportunity to provide as much detail as you want, but, you know, so it could be quite much.
And I'd like to touch on the collaboration piece. I remember that last United Summit, and I'll bring up because I know we all share a love for Russ George, but I remember he gave one of the best speeches in the classic Russ George form. I don't think he had anything written down, and like there were a lot of teary eyes in the audience, but I remember one of the things he said was, you know, when times are tough like these, it's easy to retreat to our corners, and I'm going to ask you not to do that, you know. And I think that now we're living through increasingly tough times. So what's the opposite? How can we stay true to what Russ is asking us to do and like come together more, especially we've got great funding opportunities and do that. It's not just to talk about what can we set in motion, what can we work on together. Maybe that is cross-facing collaboration on, you know, any number of things.
Well, thanks for giving us this opportunity to comment and hopefully participate.
No. Anything else for the CWCB? Jackie, are you with us this evening? I thought I seen her up there.
I haven't seen her on this.
Okay. She's not, I probably saw Lisa. I saw Brown and it was Lisa probably. So anyway,
Lisa Brown, yeah.
no worries. All right. Well, moving on if there's anything else. So, and please feel free to talk to Russ or Jeff at any time after this, or reach out to Jackie. Jackie is your CWCB representative, but also the chair of the CWCB at the time. So come on in, Bill, find a seat. You may be sitting in the middle. Oh, we got. Is this your? That's mine. Oh, right there. We got one right there. Oh, you, Bill.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm late.
The infamous Bill Bataraka just showed up, so.
Had to walk all the way around the building to find a way to go.
Oh, well, thanks for joining us, Bill. So with that, I'm gonna move on to public comment. Anybody on, in the room have any public comment they would like to visit with the roundtable about this evening? Seeing none, how about online? Please raise your hand.
Somebody on the stand. It's Robert.
Robert, welcome.
Thank you, Eldon. Thank you very much. Just with regard to the CWCB board meeting, we are actually up in Steamboat next week. So we're looking forward to be there and talking about the same thing that Kent talked about collaboration. We'll be actually meeting with the Colorado Ag Commission. So we're making an effort on the CWCB to reach out to other boards and commissions because water is so important around the state. We really feel like collaboration with all the groups is important. So really looking forward to that meeting. And thanks everybody for all the hard work you do.
Thank you, Robert.
Robert, remind us where the meeting is in Steamboat?
At the Steamboat Grand.
At the Grand.
Yep.
Good. Anyone else online? Okay, hearing none or seeing none, let's move on to some, Steve, you've got some grant projects you got coming up. We've got 3 of them, as a matter of fact, so.
We got 2 grants and I've just got an update.
No worries. You got the floor, man. This is your
Okay.
show for the next while.
As soon as Patrick gets the slideshow on. Okay, next slide, Patrick. So tonight I'm gonna go over the preliminarily the 2023 grant cycle funding results. I'm gonna ask for some funding for 2024 grant cycle. So the grants that you'll hear tonight will go before the CWCB potentially in July, which will be part of their 2024 fiscal year. So we're gonna need to approve some money for that. The first grant we're gonna hear from is the Division of Water Resources, Bear River and Sarvis Creek Data Logger and Telemetry, followed by the Town of Oak Creek Sheriff's Reservoir additional funding. So documents that are in your, hopefully in your packet and are online are the minutes from the grant meeting that was held February 8th, 2023, and the grant summaries for DWR and Oak Creek grants that were sent out. So they should be in your packet, and those should be online as well. Go ahead, Patrick. So just some quick figures. So you can see for the November grant cycle, you can see the red, see the red numbers there. Those, we've got grants going to be heard next week at the Steamboat Grand. And then the grants that we heard in January will potentially be heard in May at the CWCB meeting. And then the grants that you'll hear tonight will be a part of next year's grant program. But so the CWCB funded an additional $228,950 on top of putting our grant funds, our basic account funds at $1 million. So we actually started this year, if you take into account all the additional monies they gave, with $1,200,000 in our grant fund. We potentially are going to spend, if those March grants get approved and the May grants get approved by CWCB, we'll have spent nearly $800,000 on grants in our 2023 cycle. And I believe that's going to leave us with a balance of our grant fund of $406,000. So we've been actually putting a lot of our money to work, a lot of the state's money to work, hopefully doing projects. I just wanted to point out, we didn't really have a statewide account when our grant year started. But after last fall, the state opened up an availability to state funds, and we have approved as a Basin Roundtable about $902,000 worth of statewide funds that would go under basically the infrastructure improvement category of their of the new statewide funds account. So that's why I show that 900,000 in red. So hopefully we'll be able to accomplish quite a bit of work with our 2023 grant program. Go ahead, Patrick. So boy, these numbers are hard to read, especially from the side. So starting off with our 406,000, where I think so I'm kind of guessing where we're going to end up July 1st. So after the May meeting, if those grants are both approved by CWCB, we should end up with about $406,000. We've been told in past programs last year that they would add $300,000 to everybody's Basin Roundtable account. Last year they put us up to $1 million, so they just maxed out everybody's account. So I don't know if they're gonna do that, so I took the conservative approach and said, they're gonna put in 300,000, which takes our account to $706,000. And then at the grants meeting, we proposed potentially starting our 2024 grant funding at 400,000. So we will have, so the grants that we hear tonight and the grants that we'll hear in May, potentially there may be more money that gets allocated to our basin account after July 1st. And if that's the case, then we'll come back and ask for more grant funding if we know there's grant projects for that. So kind of the primer to our account would be to start off with 400,000. And we're not going to hear, there's not a lot of money being asked for tonight out of our basin account. The total between the two grants is a little over 41,000. And there's an ask of like 181,000 from the statewide account, because both these projects are infrastructure projects. So that's not going to put much of a dent in our account if we approve the projects that are upcoming in this meeting. Go ahead, Patrick. So the grant committee is recommending to fund the 2024 grant fund with 400,000. Depending upon funding from CWCB in July of 2023, this amount may be adjusted at a future meeting. So the required action would be a motion and a second for approval of the 400,000, or if anybody wants to have a question or discussion on that.
We just move to approve the 400,000.
And I would second that.
Okay, I have a, oh,
We do have, that's okay. No, we do have a discussion, because we do have a motion and a second here.
Yeah.
Yes, Bill.
So one of the things I brought up at the grant committee meeting is to understand what would be the minimum balance we need to maintain in our basin account, and the reasoning behind that minimum balance. Because to me, we should fund grants, qualified grants and good grants, regardless, if we have the monies available. And not set an annual limit, so to speak, and preserve $350,000 in the account, unless there's a specific reason we should. Okay, so that's my question.
well, there were years when we didn't get any money. So,
But so what?
well, then, I mean, if we have nothing, then we would have nothing. But if we keep back at least some portion of that, we'd have at least something that we can carry over. That doesn't look to be the case here in the near future, but it is, there have been years where it's been the tight budget and the state kept really affected the amount of money we would have.
Well, and I understand that, but my point is, this is taxpayer dollars that are there to fund projects that qualify for funding. Right. So what's the rationale to keep? And there may be good rationales to keep 100,000 or 200,000 and 300,000 or whatever it is. I just don't understand what the rationale is. If we have good projects that come before the committee, we should fund them if we have the money. If we don't have the money, we can't fund anything.
Yeah, so I guess I'll answer that, Bill. And when we started the grants committee in 2016, probably 2016, 2017, we have funded every grant. And when there was not enough allocated, so let's say the 400,000 is on the table to allocate tonight, before the grants, just like right now, I've come and I've asked and said, so the grants you're gonna hear tonight are this amount. So it's just an amount to start with. Sure. If there are good grants and the grant committee is in favor of it and this roundtable is in favor of it, then we're gonna keep spending.
We're gonna raise the limit.
Yeah, there were just several years where there was no money coming into CWCB, so they didn't really add anything to our basin accounts. Right now, everything is flush with money supposedly. I mean, that's the story. I see Jeff down there nodding. So
Yeah,
I like it.
I can jump in and kind of just clarify a couple things. So one thing I noticed in your report, Steve, is the basin started with $1 million in October. So I don't know if you're gonna need to adjust those numbers for your calculations or anything like that, not 1.2. So just a point of clarification there. And then one other thing, with I hear what you're saying in terms of the volatility of severance tax, because WSRF is funded, exclusively through the severance tax fund. One thing we tried to institute when we adopted these new criteria and guidelines in September was we set aside in a statewide reserve for times when severance tax is really low, like we've seen in the past, 3 years of funding of the annual basin allocation. So, with the cap situation trying to just increase, incentivize spending, we tried to kind of relieve that burden a little bit by setting aside some operating funds, for a time when severance tax is really low and there isn't money coming to WSRF. So to just kind of, help with this conversation that you all have, and just remember that we did that. And there is about 3 years of operating funds just kind of set aside for us for this program. And also, we're incentivizing spending, and the way that we have set up the program is if you spend down below your 450,000 to get your annual allocation of 300,000, bring you back up to that $750,000 cap. If you spend more and your annual allocation doesn't get you up to the cap, and other basins don't spend enough to get their allocation, that money is going to be dispersed among the basins to kind of bring them up to the cap if they have spent down, in theory to zero or something, lower than that $450,000 threshold, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yep.
Mike, you had a question.
I did, but you kind of answered some of that. I think originally when we did that, we had some PEPAL money and stuff that was going out yearly. And I think Aaron, like maybe you had a project there at Carpenter Ranch going on that was going out yearly. And we were afraid if we overspent it, we couldn't continue to do those. However, from what you just said, it sounds like maybe we don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't know. Did I miss that?
No, I think that was the intent. Now, only 3 years of operating funds, hoping that would be a bridge for a situation where the severance tax was really low. But I think, every basin across the state is having the same conversation, because everybody set up kind of a contingency plan when severance tax was really low to hold some money in reserve to be able to fund projects. If they didn't get any money, we're trying to relieve that burden a little bit for the basins and kind of just set aside that reserve for this program. So I think, maybe not, trying to get it to a point where you don't have to worry about it. Are we there yet? I'm not entirely sure. Severance tax is so volatile. We don't know. We won't know for at least, till the summer, if we're gonna get what we're gonna get. And so, just kind of wanted to put that on your radar and your mind.
Just hold on, Bill, did you have any follow-up with that as well?
Well, I guess all I'm trying to figure out is we should fund projects that qualify for funding. And I'm not sure having a cap on the amount, to me, it's more the opposite. What does the roundtable really need to maintain in its cap? What is what is the bottom end of that rather than the top? You know, and what's the rationale for that? It being taxpayer dollars that we're supposed to try to get out there and get projects done. Understand, so.
Okay.
And I'm comfortable with setting the 400,000 with the understanding that we may come back and say, well, here's a good project and we have the money and let's fund it.
Okay. Doug, and then you, Frank, okay? Doug?
So I'll be real quick. So, Bill, I appreciate very much you bringing this up. You've brought it up for the last 8 years, and I agree with you. We have this dilemma that we have to figure out, you know, and Bill hasn't brought up now the conversation about the inflation thing. So, you know, man, if we have proper opportunities to send money out there now at a lesser price, and versus having 30% inflation going on them, and you know, so, but at the same point in time, I don't want to get penalized by the CWCB by not spending our allocation. So I'm sensitive to all those conversations. I'm a very conservative person, but anyhow, so those are my comments. But inflation and the penalized and let's and an adequate reserve. Yes, thank you.
Frank?
I don't want to rehash what's been said, but I do want to echo what Bill said. I support what he says. I have two things. We also talked at the committee level of if we have the money available and there's people that are looking to do projects, how do we link that money to the people that want to do the projects? Whether it's advertising or PEPO or whatever. So I think that's an important piece of it, because if there are good projects out there that meet our goals and kind of advance what we're trying to do here, I think we should try to put the money together with the projects. Now, how you do that is the $1 million question, but that's something I think we need to discuss further as we move forward. So, and then my only other question is there a limit or is there a threshold that we are mandated, whether it's through CWCB or anybody else for that matter, that we can't spend down to zero?
No.
As far as I know, no, there is no limit to that. I mean, we're trying to incentivize spending, so if you can do that, great. That means more money out the door, more projects going on, you know, more projects to help us meet the goals of the water plan and the FIP and all of those things. So, you know, that would be great. Also, you know, I totally understand the volatility of severance tax and the situation we've been in the past, so.
Thanks.
I'm gonna. Go ahead.
Have we ever had an instance where we couldn't fund a project because we were trying to maintain a balance? Is that ever?
I think we did have time, wasn't it? You had a time or two where we had to split the balance because we had competing projects and there wasn't enough to fund all three, so we just said we're gonna split the balance.
We did.
Yeah, we asked folks to reallocate. Yes.
Yeah.
So that was an option at the time. I'm just trying to frame it as like, is there really, you know, a problem that we need to solve? I mean, nothing against like what Bill said, but on the other hand, we all keep waiting for like this one big project that might come in. And what would say happen if a big project does come in just last minute or something, and we've spent down below what we kind of said is a reserve, we wouldn't be able to fund that project potentially. So that might be one case for having somewhat of a reserve just to ensure that we can fund a really good project that might come in last minute.
So I will probably come back at the September meeting. When we're not hearing grants in September, I'll probably come back in September with the results of the CWCB funding. And as a grant committee, we'll have a chance to talk this over some more and come back with a correction to this allocation based on actual funding from CWCB and the results of that.
One more thing I might just add, you know, really appreciate you working on the CWCB fiscal year calendar. One thing we added, just clarification on in the 2023 guidelines that were adopted by the board in September was anything approved by the roundtable at that June 1st CWCB deadline will be counted towards the current fiscal year's cap. So if you want to, you don't have to, you can still rely on your own, guidelines and things like that. But if you want, we just kind of wanted to give every roundtable the greatest opportunity to spend down their funds to, to get eligible for that annual allocation.
One more comment. We do have a motion and a second live on the table yet, so, and we're 10 minutes over.
Last thing I was gonna say to support, what Frank and others are saying is, I think it also be mindful that, kind of like Doug said, that it's not just the inflation, we also have all this extra money that we had latched onto. So all that's out there, and that does have a burn rate, kind of the next 5 years or less now, maybe. It's probably good to try to leverage that while we have it.
Yep. Great. I agree with Doug. As long as we don't get penalized, let's get it out the door. Let's get going with it. So, so with that, I'm going to call the question. So, motion to recommend approval of grant committee request of $400,000 of Yampa-White-Green WSRF funds to the fund the 2024 Yampa-Green Basin Roundtable grant program. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you. I think you got some directions, Steve. I got it. Good. I got it. I'll be see you in September. All right, good. Patrick, next slide. Good discussion, folks. Okay, so next we're going to hear from Mindy Figueroa, Water Commissioner for District 58. The documents that are in your grant folder for this project are the Yampa-White-Green Basin grant application for this project, the March 2023 Basin Roundtable meeting grant summary, and the February 8th, 2023 grant meeting minutes. So if you're looking for anything other than that, and I think the next slide is Mindy's, Patrick. So Mindy, are you ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Mindy Figueroa, and I'm a water commissioner for the Division of Water Resources in District 58. And although I wanted to attend the meeting in person tonight, but unforeseen circumstances has me out here on the Front Range, but we have Aaron Light, our division engineer, and Brian Romig, our lead water administrator there to represent DNR tonight, or DWR tonight. So go ahead and advance to the next slide there. I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity to present this project for consideration. This is a voluntary project whose purpose is to install telemetry consisting of data loggers with built-in satellite transmitters and radar level sensors on diversion structures in the Bear River system and on the service ditch. Telemetry is technology that automatically collects, transmits, and measures data from remote sources using sensors and other devices to collect the data. So snow tells, our stream gauges, those are examples of telemetry. And we're going to use satellite and radar telemetry on this project based on local climate and topography. And so motivations for us for implementing this project in these two locations are: one, the Bear River is a highly administered stream system that goes under administrative call every year. And the Sarvis Ditch is a trans-basin diversion that diverts water from Sarvis Creek out of the Yampa River Basin. The data loggers allow for continuous water flow data to be recorded, uploaded, and accessed by water users and water administrators in near real time. The overall goals and objectives of this telemetry product are to increase accuracy and efficiency of water deliveries, improve water management decisions, increase adaptive capacity, provide transparent and equitable administration, and protect agricultural and senior water rights. And go ahead and go to the next slide there, please. The project addresses the following Yampa-White-Green Basin implementation goals. So goal 1, the vitality of the basin depends on maintaining and protecting its historical water uses. The data acquired from this project will address the objective of protecting water rights owners from abandonment, maximizing the beneficial use of water under their water right, and educating water rights owners on how to maintain existing decreed water rights. The value of a decreed water right is based on its historical consumptive use, and this project will provide accurate, near real-time water usage data for the entire irrigation year, thus strengthening and protecting the decreed water rights in the Bear River system. Goal 2, this project supplies valuable data to producers that can help working ranches keep agricultural lands in production. The historical data obtained can be accessed online by agricultural users at any time to assess current and previous water usage against production yields to allow for adaptive management. So this project will assist agriculture users in addressing and determining short-term and long-term operational solutions and assist in day-to-day management of the beneficial use of water diverted. The increased efficiency of water deliveries also reduces agricultural water shortages and encourages continued agricultural use in the Upper Yampa Basin. Addresses goal 3. This project focuses on the need for efficiency and delivery infrastructure. The Bear River is a headwater tributary stream system and is subject to vast fluctuations in water flow. The data obtained quantifies water diversion shortages in time, frequency, and duration. Water users and managers are then able to use the data to respond to shortages and surpluses in a timely manner. This goes for native stream flow as well as reservoir storage deliveries. The continuous data can also aid in identifying acute and/or chronic weaknesses in the diversion structure itself or in the irrigation system as a whole. The data obtained from telemetry provides robust and reliable data for potential future studies specific to this agricultural community. Goal 7, the telemetry it's modern technology that when installed on diversion structures helps improve water delivery efficiency and agricultural water supplies. The near real-time data increases the reliability and accuracy of water distribution in terms of both native stream flow and reservoir storage deliveries. Water managers are able to respond quickly to water shortages and surpluses at the watershed level, which implements a holistic administrative approach. Goal 8, the Bear River is a heavily administered and highly complex stream system that is comprised of headwater tributaries, reservoirs, high altitude irrigated meadows, and fluctuating return flows and diurnal flows. Installation of telemetry on diversion structures will provide an invaluable complement to the telemetry currently installed on the 2 reservoirs along with the Bear River stream gauges to enhance the coordinated operation of the Bear River system to reduce agricultural shortages and optimize river operations and administration. The storage data, the stream flow data, and the diversion data will be available to the public on the Colorado Decision Support Systems website. Goal 9, the Division of Water Resources hosted a public outreach workshop regarding this project for Bear River water users and also consulted individually with water users. During these meetings, emphasis was placed on educating water users about protecting their water rights and strengthening their water rights value. A case study was presented that illustrated how telemetry can increase adaptive capacity within a rural agricultural community. Public outreach was also initiated with the Upper Yampa Water Conservancy District to introduce the project and propose collaboration on the project. Goal 10, the project provides direct benefits for stakeholders in the agricultural and water sectors, including the water users, the local water conservancy district, local reservoir company, and the Division of Water Resources. Multiple objectives are also addressed, including reducing agricultural water and economic losses, improved administration of the river, improving agricultural water efficiency, and maximizing the waters of the state, including the water stored in 2 reservoirs, maintaining and protecting existing decreed water rights, modernizing infrastructure, quantifying consumptive uses, increasing resiliency of working agricultural ranches to current and future water challenges, and providing robust and reliable data for informed decision-making. The project also helps implement Colorado's water plan. The water plan includes actions in 4 main focus areas: vibrant communities, thriving watersheds, robust agricultural, and resilient planning. This project addresses robust agriculture by modernizing critical water infrastructure to sustain productive agriculture and by providing access to continuous diversion data that helps maximize irrigation water supplies for agricultural beneficial use. Addresses the resilient planning by using data collected to mitigate future water risks and vulnerabilities and to enhance adaptive capacity in the face of climate change and climate extremes that will lead to resiliency. So in conclusion, increasing pressure on water resources has amplified the need for real-time data and for more efficient delivery and distribution infrastructure in order to develop integrated management solutions in upper basin stream systems. We cannot manage what we cannot measure, and telemetry allows for control, adaptability, and efficiency delivery of limited water resources. And so we'll go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Okay, so the proposed funding will cover the costs of the equipment, the materials, and the site preparation. So the total cost of the project, including labor, is $189,000. The statewide grant request is $132,300. The request from the Basin Roundtable is $25,200. The Division of Water Resources will provide a cash match in the amount of $25,200 as well for the labor and the installation of the equipment. And we are actually on the Upper Yampa Water Conservancy District's Board of Directors meeting agenda next Wednesday, March 15th, to discuss the additional matching funds there. And so that's all I have. So thank you very much for your time. And what questions can I answer, if any?
Go ahead, Bill. Okay, I was just gonna say, I think an important point for everybody to understand is that the landowners are gonna be responsible for maintaining and replacing the telemetry equipment. Is that correct?
Replacing? Bill, did you say replacing? If it
Yes.
fails?
Yes.
Yeah, so the equipment will belong to the water users themselves. So if there are repairs that need to be made, it will be the water user's responsibility.
So the biggest cost, Cindy, is that telemetry cost. That will be paid by the ditch owners or head gate owners or whatever. Basically what the telemetry cost per year, the annual contract or whatever to send their data in.
Yeah, so there's an annual fee associated with it. And it's like the technology fee. It's the fee for uploading all the information onto the website. It's $300 per year per structure. And the first year we're working with Upper Yampa to see if we can get a cost supplement there. But then in additional years, yeah, the water users will be responsible, and they are aware of that too, responsible for that cost. We do want to look for funding to try to help ease some of those costs for the water users. But ultimately, in the end, if we're not able to, they do understand that they would be responsible for the fee.
Yes, Chris. Mindy, this is Chris Collins. Sorry, I didn't make the grant meeting. I had to go through your write-up. Or Steve's write-up, but he said there's a very positive response to the technology. How many of the right holders have committed to the technology?
So I have talked to everybody on the Upper Yampa, all the water users, and right now we have interest and commitment from 21 structures. There are multiple water users on a lot of these structures. So I did speak with probably close to 60 water users. And since it is a voluntary project, I did have to get their basically approval and their commitment before their structure was added to the list. So for most people, yeah, they were very excited for this type of technology, being able to see what's coming through their head gate in near real time. So what happens is every 15 minutes a reading is taken, and then an hourly average is calculated and it's uploaded to the website. So that's why it's near real time. So, instead of having to drive down to the head gate multiple times a day or anything like that, you can see it, at a snapshot in time. And so same thing for administration. We can see in a snapshot in time what's going on at all of the version structures at one time to see who, if somebody's short, if somebody's high, how much water's in the system, and how we can manage it that way. It also, kind of provides transparency. A lot of the water users were interested in the fact that they would be able to know what we're setting other people's head gates at. So if we say, to show that when everybody's in priority, that, everybody who's supposed to be getting a certain amount of water is getting that water.
Jeff, I have a question first. Well, this is the line of questioning I was gonna go down the last three questions. I just want confirmation that the landowners or the water rights users really want this and have committed to spending that technology increase, because I don't want to see the state burdening water users. And it seems like you've gone through that already. So
Yeah, no, yeah, we started with an informational meeting, and then the people that didn't attend, I was at kitchen tables and meeting with people in Yampa at the library, and yeah, so I talked specifically to every person that's going to participate in this.
Frank, Randy, this is Frank. I was at the committee meeting, and I think we didn't talk about this, but is there a minimum amount of people that would be required to sign up for this to happen, and between potentially approving this grant and when the program starts, if people drop out, would that still allow the program to move forward? I'm just curious how that might work.
So there wasn't necessarily a minimum amount, but what we wanted to do is encourage people that have structures that are in priority a lot of the time during the administrative call. Because in order for, us to have good administration and for this to work as a whole, being able to see those diversion structures that are in priority when the call is on was important. I wouldn't say there was necessarily a minimum. In fact, the minimum I started with, I think, was 18. And then at the last minute, I had an extra 3 structures want to join in. That they're not necessarily in priority as much as the other structures, but they found the benefit in this program and wanted to join in as well. So I don't think there's a minimum. From the response that I've gotten, I don't see any of the structures that are on there now bowing out. If there was maybe one, it wouldn't kind of make or break the project itself. If that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Patrick waving at me over there.
So I'm gonna put on a different community agricultural hat now under a different WSRF grant, water plan grant. We've had ag water coordinators going out there trying to do water projects. Jeff Linky is one of our employees. Met with Mindy and all the water users. Jeff runs up and down the Bear River all the time, helping everybody adjust their head gates to help keep priority for the DWR, and as well as working with all the water users there. I'm not gonna put words in his mouth, but he has not came to me and said that there's any pushback on this project. So to answer the questions, the water users, I believe, from what I'm hearing, have been covered and they are supportive of the project from what my channels with Jen.
Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir. I'm just curious, who all has access to the data?
It'll be public. It'll be public. So same thing when you go onto the our website and you can see the stream gauge data, you'll be able to see the data that's coming down the diversion structures as well. So it will be public.
Thank you.
So each different water user will be able to see other water users, what's going through their head gate.
And Bill.
I just have a comment, and I support this. I think this is the way the world is going in terms of the technology and being able to monitor this. I think it does a great service to the Division of Water Resources, so the water commissioner doesn't have to run around like a chicken with his head cut off to monitor every head gate. But while the priority head gates are important, I think the out of priority head gates are almost more important. Because when there's a shortage, that's where you want to know if the water is going down more than through the priorities. Just a comment.
No, we do have a couple ditches that are so far out of priority that the owners did not want to commit to putting a gauge, because it's $300 a year potentially for them. If there is one owner on the ditch and they're just absolutely not in priority when call comes on, they want.
But then the commissioner has to go out and check their head gate and make sure they're not taking water, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, those in a sense are the more important ones at that point.
Yes. That's right.
Anyone online?
So yeah, if I could, this is Doug. So I just real quickly say that during the grant committee, and they were in the minutes, so that both Ken and I abstained out of this discussion. But I would say, and I'm going to abstain from voting on it as well, because Upper Yampa is putting some money into the water for this project as well. And mainly because of our Yamcola Reservoir and the ability to monitor and our releases and making sure the delivery of the releases. So I just wanted to say that, and I'll be abstaining. So thank you.
Duly noted, Doug.
So Ken, Katie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next slide, Patrick. Okay, well, let me just say before we move on to this slide. This project will potentially reduce our Yampa operating costs in the Bear River because they won't have to send folks up there as often. So that's why Ken and Doug have both kind of stepped out of that conversation and are not going to vote on this. So you've heard the grant, the required action in front of us is a motion and a second for the approval of $25,200 of Yampa-White-Green Basin WSRF funds and $132,300 of CWCB WSRF state match funds.
I'll make the motion to recommend approval of the grant request of $25,200 for this project.
I'll second that. This is Sonia.
Sonia's got the second, Bill's got the motion, made the motion, so. Any other discussion? Otherwise, I'm gonna call.
Let me just say that the grant committee recommends this grant for approval by the Yampa-White-Green Basin Roundtable for the amount shown above.
Yes. And I believe that was a unanimous.
Yes, it was.
That was unanimous. Yep. All in favor of approving the motion that we have in front of us right now, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank
Good
you,
job.
thank you, thank you, everyone, appreciate it.
I'm familiar with this technology. I've used this in other domestic distribution systems. It works pretty well, and it's good to see it catch up to this era. So be excited to see how this plays out. So
Next slide, Patrick. Okay, so the town of Oak Creek Sheriff's Reservoir additional funding. We'll have a presentation by David Tordler from the town of Oak Creek. The documents in the grant folder for this project are the Yampa-White-Green grant application, March 2023 Basin Roundtable grant summary, and the February 8th grant meeting minutes. Just to note, this project is part of a Yampa-White-Green BIP, identified projects in process, which is, you've heard me say IPPs before. So there's a IPP YW-2020-0045. The spillway modifications are the costliest of the repairs, is still in the planning stages, but that project included the work that's been ongoing at Sheriff's Reservoir. So this was one of the projects that were called out. I believe it was the tier 1 project.
yes,
if I remember right.
I believe so.
So. All right, next slide, Patrick. David, are you ready?
Ready as I'm gonna be.
Gotta speak up a little bit, David. We're having a hard time hearing you.
I'm speaking up as much as I can.
There we go. Turn the
That's
volume.
better.
We're good.
All right. Well, you might not be able to see me so good because I have to get closer to the speaker, but I'll do the best job I can. First slide shows the location of the Sheriff Reservoir and the location of the dam. It's in Rio Blanco County, just upstream, Oak Creek and Trout Creek from the town of Oak Creek. So, next slide, please. It's been identified that dam safety concerns are that we have an inadequate spillway capacity, that we have a potential for foundation erosion, and that there's operational concerns with the outlet works. What we're here before you today is mainly to talk about additional funding to replace the 68-year-old outlet works. They've been in place since the dam was constructed, and the head gate and the operating equipment for that head gate are in poor shape. Our staff is concerned each time they go up there to work to open up the head gate or to close the head gate, that debris that's gotten into the gearing is going to prevent it from opening and closing. So we've been putting a big push on getting at least this portion done while we continue to do the design engineering and go through the state engineer's office for review of those design plans for the bigger spillway reconstruction project and a rehabilitation project. And so I can touch base a little bit on that while we're going through this, but right now we're here in front of you because inflation has absolutely killed us when it came to work to install the outlet works equipment. The town has acquired the head gate and the outlet gate equipment, the operating equipment. It's sitting in our public works garage, ready to be installed, so there won't be any supply chain issues. We have gotten on board a general contractor that will give us a guaranteed maximum price to install this. And it's with that pricing in mind that we're here to make this request. And the request is that for $16,250 from the roundtable basin roundtable, and $48,750 from the statewide WSRF. Thank you for moving on. While this has been going on, the original grant funding, part of which was funded by the Basin Roundtable, has gone into a lot of work that we've actually accomplished, including acquiring the head gate and the operating equipment. But we also did updated hydrology using high elevation hydrology, which has reduced the amount of the spillway improvements from an original 330 linear feet of spillway improvements down to 100 feet. And so that was just the results of that high elevation updated hydrology analysis that was done. And in addition, we did a hydrologic hazard classification report, and we did a potential failure modes, PFM modes workshop. And during those analysis, we may be able to reduce the spillway further, but we have to go through some seismic analysis that WW Wheeler is right now going through the analysis on to determine if we can, in fact, reduce the spillway rehabilitation even further and reduce that big project further. We'll know that when we submit the plans at the end of this year to the state engineer's office for review. We also did a financial plan, an updated financial plan, and an emergency action plan tabletop exercise. We're here today because of inflation for the installation. The engineer's original estimate to install the equipment was for $125,000. And after bidding it twice, the lowest bid was $425,000. So inflation just really ate into our anticipated cost to complete this project. So, as I said earlier, we have gone out and we have solicited proposals from general contractors to do a CMGC project with a general contractor and have a guaranteed price to do the work. And we believe that we will be able to install the head gate and operating equipment in 2023 if we can get the financial support we're asking for. Any questions?
Al.
Hey, Al.
Yeah, hey, Al Vandenbrink here. What happens if you don't get your gate replaced?
If we don't get our gate replaced, we would likely have to try and include that in the bigger rehabilitation project. Our concern, as I said, is that our crews that go up there are going to call us up one day and say it didn't shut or it won't open. And neither one of those is a good alternative. So we would like to be able to proceed this summer and into probably late summer. The deadline date to get it done would be October 15th, so that we can be out of there before next year's record snowfall starts to fall.
So there would be problems with you getting your drinking water supply.
There would be problems for us getting drinking water supply, and also, depending on whether it didn't open or didn't close, it could, be a problem managing the water level within the reservoir itself. And we are under restriction to keep our water level lower than the head gate. Although, you know, at times it's gonna rise up and we're gonna have to go up there and exercise that head gate to let the water out so that it won't rise and hit the spillway.
Thank you.
Specify.
Yeah,
that gate replacement.
that's correct. Yep. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? This isn't the first time we're all aware of this project's going forward. It's been carried forward, so I'm a strong proponent for it, just because it is a for public water supply as well, so. Anybody online have anything?
Now,
Yes, sir.
this is a totally unqualified observation, but I've never been up there and seen that thing. It does look like one good hard rain to do it.
Okay, and I know there's been letters of support sent from the counties as well, around there, so, it's well supported.
Yeah, Rock County is actually
Yeah.
funding, is an additional grant funder for 80,000. And the town of Oak Creek's thrown in another 80 from the ARPA grant.
So would anybody like to entertain a motion for this?
Go ahead, Patrick, can you turn it around?
I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry, Steve.
Yeah, here's the.
Josh.
So here's the required action summary, a motion and a second for approval of a grant request for $16,250 Yampa-White-Green BRT WSRF funds and $48,750 of CWCB WSRF state match funds. And I'll just add, the grant committee recommended this grant for approval by the roundtable for the amounts shown above.
I'd be happy to make a motion. This is Sonia Macy's to recommend the approval of the grant request for the $16,250 of roundtable funds and $48,750 of CWCB WSRF state match funds.
Very nice, Sonia, thank you. Second, who?
This is Julie Baxter. I'll second that motion.
Madison. Okay, Madison's got it. We're getting there. We're gonna play rock, paper, scissors here pretty quick.
You gotta be faster, Julie.
Sorry, Julie.
So we do have a motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion passed. Thank you. Good luck with your project.
Thanks, David.
Yeah.
Thank you all for your support. We
Let's
appreciate
get you to the finish line.
I got one more slide, Patrick, and just in case there's, those at the end of the grants update, are there any questions about anything grants wise that anybody has? Hearing none.
All right.
Just that, you know, if you didn't get enough information about a grant, if you feel like you want to spend more time reviewing these, that this is the passion of yours, you're always welcome to join the committee and have, you know, have the very thorough review experience. And I think you'll have a lot of confidence in how well Steve runs that grant committee and how seriously we take the job of trying to vet these for you. No, so the grant committee shows up on the Yampa-White-Green homepage. Halfway down the page, there's a grants button you push, and it brings it up. I think our next meeting is April 12th. But it brings it up, and then as we get closer, get the applications in, we'll feed information from that grants meeting into that as well. So yeah, everybody's invited to help out with grants.
Okay,
I'm done.
thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is a presentation by Jonathan Buller. And it's about the West Fork Dam and Reservoir Project.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks, Al, for making space on the agenda and the whole roundtable for being here to listen in. And also I've got some members of my board from the Savory Little Snake River Water Conservancy District with Eamon O'Toole and Brent Lee here. Members of the Conservation District, Larry Hicks, and members from the ranching community that are members of the districts, Pat O'Toole and Bob Davis, all down here from the Little Snake River Basin today. Also members of the Pothook Water Conservancy who are co-sponsors of this project, representing the Colorado side of the users and the water that would be applied to those irrigators. So Jay Shin and Glenda Shin. So thanks everyone for coming. I'm here really just to engage you all in some information as to where we are with this project. We've been going through a planning process. We've been learning a lot and just staying involved in the NEPA process at this point. And I wanted to bring you all up to speed as a major stakeholder of the area, and someone who's also connected to a similar watershed. So myself and Pat O'Toole both are members of this roundtable as out of basin members, sharing similar water, similar headwaters. And I'm just here to share the information we've got with everyone tonight. You can go to that next slide. This is the location of the proposed watershed plan and the associated reservoir. It sits about 30 miles east northeast of Baggs, Wyoming, and 40 miles north of Hayden, up here in the Sierra Madre Mountains, on the west fork of Battle Creek. And as it up above where it comes into the Battle Creek proper, and then into Little Snake and down on into the Yampa. Thank you. The general purpose is to provide for rural agricultural water management, late season irrigation water supply, and also some resiliency within the water supply that's available, and to be able to be used in conjunction with other infrastructure projects to generally provide for a sustainable water source for the agricultural community and the municipal users that rely on it as well. Someone could go to the next slide. The purpose and need that were discussed and is identified within this NEPA process is for late season supplemental water supply. So the agricultural operations in the Little Snake, like here, some cattle industry and hay production, and this late season water is used to either promote a regrowth that can be used for grazing, or in some cases a further supply of hay for cutting. Depends on the operation. But it really provides for an extension, and with the existing water supplies that we do have, has really shown to be a benefit to these operations. And especially in these past 2 years of really unprecedented drought that we've experienced, has been crucial to the water supplies and the ability to deliver water to be able to maintain the economies in this area. As identified, we've got within this service area, just a red button on there, Jonathan. Oh, so the proposed site is just zoomed in from that last slide. This is the West Fork of Battle Creek. Comes down and into the Little Snake here. And this is where the Little Snake River really kind of tries to make up its mind as to what state it wants to be in. And it ends up deciding for a little while that it's going to be a Wyoming river, but then it comes back into Colorado again, goes back to Wyoming, and then finally a last turn to the south into Colorado. But this whole service area, beginning about here, down Battle Creek, along the Little Snake River, through both states, serves about 19,000 irrigated acres. Within that, it's about a 3/4 to 1/4 split between Colorado and Wyoming. So 74% Wyoming, 26% Colorado, just about 5,000 acres that of Colorado irrigated lands that will be served by this. The studies that we've done, and there's an entire library of studies that have been done in the Little Snake River Basin. It's just document after document that the Conservation District has gone through for a lot of their projects, work that the Conservancy District has done over the years. It's really robust, and we found that there's about a 12,000 acre foot average annual irrigation shortage over that 19,000 acres. So if you were to spread that out, it's a little less than an acre foot per person that's kind of suffering to get through that agricultural year and kind of accumulate that operation. So that 12,000 acre foot is shared between the two states. You can see the extent of agriculture that Colorado has and Wyoming both. It's a highly productive area. It's ancestral and native floodplains. The primary hay crop or native grasses, small proportion of alfalfa, but largely native grass and, in that floodplain area, so. A lot of flood irrigation, gated pipe, some sprinklers, but a diverse mix that, you know, depends on the operation, but, really put to use in both states. And you can go to the next slide. So the proposed action that we're looking at, and again, this is all in the initial planning process, the planning stages for this watershed plan. And this is one of many alternatives that we're through this last scoping period have developed the issues that we're going to be looking at to assess the various alternatives. But this is the proposed action, and it's a 264-foot concrete dam, store 10,000 acre feet with total area of 130 acres surface area. Of that 10,000 acre feet, it's a 6,500 acre foot irrigation supply. 1,500 foot minimum bypass flow that'll be held back to provide for those in-stream flows, minimum flow requirements, and a 2,000 acre foot conservation pool. And the location here you can see is the West Fork of Battle Creek, the highway over the Sierra Madres going over the Saratoga encampment, kind of runs right through right here. There's a highway bridge over Haggerty Creek there. And then Lost Creek comes in and forms that West Fork of Battle Creek. The land that the reservoir sits on is a mix of private and public land. And you can go to the next slide. Alongside with this, and you've seen it's involved in the NEPA process, is a proposed land exchange between the Wyoming state of Wyoming and the Forest Service, in which there's 1,350 acres of Forest Service lands in the Medicine Bow Route National Forest. And about a little over 2,024 acres of state lands. The state lands are these blue sections outlined in red, and the reservoir site sits right up here. So the idea is to reduce some of that kind of checkerboard inholding pattern that's going on in the forest right now, consolidate the land management in the area, and also consolidate that land around the reservoir into the state that would be able to just contribute more to the planning process and help us move forward that way. You can go to the next slide. So that's the general description of the project, what we're working towards right now. As it contributes to the goals of the roundtable, we've heard a lot of these just through this last grant, these grant project applications. A lot of these are similar. It's an agricultural project. And so it's really, you know, it works to protect the basin from compact curtailment, and this serves all the way from territorial state rights, pre-compact rights up to junior rights. And the water that would be served from this reservoir would go out to those shareholders without a particular appropriation date for the users. And so this is really one that supports water rights of all priorities, but would also just work to keep those people wet and in operation throughout a range of hydrologic scenarios. Protect and encourage agricultural uses of water. Again, it's to provide that late season irrigation water. And so that's the primary objective, is to support the agricultural operations and you know, provide a lot of ancillary benefits as well that I'll talk about. Improve the agricultural water supplies to increase irrigated land and reduce shortages. That comes through the ability to work this in conjunction with other infrastructure projects to be able to best support the irrigators in a variety of hydrologic situations, depending on which of our basins have snowfall. We see a lot of variability within the Sierra Madres. They're a great mountain range, but they're not extremely dramatic. And the variability in snowpack from one basin to another can be quite impressive, actually, just to see how the snow moves through there. And without the large orographic effects of the mountains, that snow can fall quite heavily in one area and just in another basin be totally dry. And we've seen some negative effects of that. So this is really going to be a project that helps kind of take your eggs out of one basket type of thing, spread them around a little bit. Quantify and protect environmental and recreational water uses. This project ties in with quite a few others on Little Snake River. We've worked really hard to put in a lot of telemetry like we just heard about, and some other projects that help make our delivery systems more efficient and collect a lot of data. And in doing that, we've reworked a lot of sections of rivers, removed gravel dams from the area, rebuilt diversion structures with fish passage or non-native fish barriers, depending on the scenario. But put a lot of work, brought in a lot of partners on these things from all different stakeholder groups and communities to fund a lot of that work. That's been the primary objective to increase the agricultural supply, but meet multiple benefits for just about any user group, recreation, wildlife, agriculture, game and non-game species benefit quite a bit. And then finally, develop an integrated system of water use, storage, administration, and delivery to reduce those water shortages and meet environmental and recreational needs. Just for context, the past 2 years, managing stored water in the area, our water shares were reduced down to 37 and 42% of what the full share might have been for those years. So we've begun to experience quite a bit of drought over those years, and just general acidification over the past decade or more. That's brought us to this point hydrologically. And the good thing is that gives us a lot of lessons. We've learned to kind of squeeze out every drop of water. We've really brought some efficiency to our delivery systems, and to the point where additional supplies that give us a more stable and resilient source of water can be put to really effective use because of that. So you got to kind of squeeze the good out of those bad years as best you can. You go to the next slide. So contribution to those non-consumptive environmental needs that come from water in the area. Really the flow-related risk to this stuff identified in the basin implementation plan. But the flow-related risk to the warm water fish that spawn and migrate to the Yampa and Little Snake River confluence, that risk is projected to increase due to several factors. One is that change in timing of peak flows. So as the models project reduce snowpack, and with that a faster runoff, it changes the ancestral hydrology of the area. So these kind of structures can in a way mimic natural snowpack and be able to slow the release of that water, meet some of those needs to be able to manage those flows to better meet the traditional flow regimes that a lot of these species have become adapted to. Those reductions in mid and late summer flows that are related to the earlier and faster runoff, it leads to loss of habitat. The rivers warm up. We see every year on the Yampa river closures from increased stream temperatures and the threats that has on both native and non-native fish. A lot of those non-natives have been put in for recreational benefit, but it puts a real struggle to anything trying to get by on these river systems. And as development happens around them, that ties into big game and terrestrial animals as well. But these reservoirs, the way that they release, can actually pump an infusion of cooler water into the system at a time when that's in really kind of low supply and much needed in that time of year. The increase in risk to the warm water fish, particularly concerning for the Yampa and white, because it doesn't only include those native fish species, but also others that are on the endangered species list. So those fish in the Colorado River Basin that have lost habitat throughout the system, and studies, we've got a lot of studies up here through the Yampa and Green and Little Snake of those fish really depending on these areas. Project like this and projects that are already in place have shown and annually have shown to increase stream flows at these lower reaches of the Little Snake and into the Yampa year round. So this would further benefit that kind of flow regime and be able to help protect that and minimize this risk. And so meeting up with some of those IPPs in the roundtable, it helps to optimize those flow protection and augmentation for the Little Snake River at its confluence with the Yampa. And that is something that we've seen already and anticipated would increase with the project. Further contributions to climate resiliency. Like I just said, these past years have experienced quite a bit of drought, and now we're in a record-breaking snowpack. That's, you know, and the Savory Basin up there, we're outside, we're at the 100th percentile. We're drawing the line on record, and 2 years ago, there hadn't been a worse year in 80 years. So, you know, if variability isn't a word you'd use, I don't know what you would. But it's a certain thing, and we're all learning to deal with it. Everyone in all sectors. So, you know, trying to bring resiliency within that variability is something that I think all of us need to be focusing on. And this has a lot of potential to help with that. One thing that you hear a lot about is with these reservoirs, big problems, evaporation. The higher elevation forested location is going to minimize that. It's a fridge. That's why we like the snowpack kept up there. If that's going to be running out, it's still the most logical place to kind of try to mimic it. So these high elevation areas are a good smart bet on that side. It helps to mitigate those modeled effects of climate change that are resulting in earlier and more intensified runoff. I just described that a little bit, but you know, most things are pointing in that direction. These can really help to reduce those peak flows. In the Little Snake River Basin, we're all we're loving all the water that's building up. Every snowfall, you know, it's a little more work. You start getting worn out, but we're kind of in a balance. Do you want to stay in the winter or get into flood season? And so, you know, we're looking that direction right now, and these sorts of things can kind of help to give you a couple options to be able to manage those for, you know, human and community safety as well. Other modeled effects that we're seeing, and they've been discussed quite a bit, are, you know, the reduced late season river flows. A reservoir like this with that late season water can really help to increase those late season flows. It'll bring down stream temperatures in those higher reaches, and then that, as it makes its way down to the confluence with the Yampa, that river warms and becomes a benefit to the water species as well. And it really keeps those maintained flows at the lower reaches as well, that even traditionally, historically, that river can dry up quite often in the historic and you know, pre-agricultural record. So that's something that's been experienced depending on the year's water supply, and this can help to bring a little bit of stability to that. All of those things generally just help to avoid the really cascading effects that come from unmitigated water shortages in both the consumptive and non-consumptive use. So all these issues that we see going on in the Colorado River Basin, if left unchecked, will just build upon each other and, you know, create bigger problems. They get more expensive, they become more complex, and, you know, you can't really address one thing without addressing another at the same time. So trying to get ahead of these things. So where we are in this process, this past January and February, the notice of intent for the project was released by the NRCS and the Forest Service, who are the NRCS, the lead agency. Forest Service is participating. That was published, and we held public scoping meetings. I actually missed the last roundtable meeting because we had a scoping meeting, I believe in Bags that same night. Yep. But we had one here in Craig, one in Bags, and then one in Saratoga. We had a really great turnout, especially here in Craig, and that started into the public comments towards those scoping issues. That just ended mid-February. Brought in hundreds of comments. We're at the point we're going through all of those and addressing the issues that we're going to be looking at in the next steps of the environmental analysis of this project and determining what effects are going to come from this. So So we just ended that first step. We're just getting into developing that scope of assessment and looking into that, how that scoping report affects the multitude of alternatives here that are available, and you can find this stuff online. Moving into summer 2023, the field season, we'll be able to take that information out to the field and start looking at these different areas. Combine that with the existing reports and studies that have been done, and taking that public input and applying it to the landscape and determining what the effects of the project might be. It's anticipated, if things go well, and who knows, this summer might not start till September, and that September is when that draft EIS is expected to be out. So, granted, the ability to get out in the field, and do that analysis, it's anticipated that we'll have a draft environmental impact statement out next fall. That'll open up the next step of public comments based on that environmental impact statement. The following spring, those comments would be absorbed and reviewed, and then you put into what would be that final environmental impact statement for the project. With early summer that, if everything went well, that's the timeline that's projected forward. We're moving forward in May 2024, have a record of decision for this project signed by the lead agencies.
That timeline is just for that land swap.
No, this would be for the proposed action alongside that land swap. And that land swap actually, this would be for the proposed action, which the land swap would be continuing on.
Oh.
Next slide. So that's where we are. That's where we're looking forward. Our next steps is really to continue to engage at the local level. This is kind of our first official, bringing the project to you all. We've been working to, do similar things at our local communities. I've tried to be available for, consultation with any local groups who are interested, and just provide what information that we know about the project. We'll continue to do that. Educating and informing our irrigators, the partners and interested parties about this project. Begin to look more into applying for watershed planning grants. So we're involved in this process, getting into the planning and development of this. And, with the two states both involved, we're looking to begin to look into apply to the Colorado Water Control Board for a water plan grant to assist in the further permitting, the environmental compliance process, delivery system analysis to bring our canal systems and our diversions up to, standards that'll be able to make this water, if it comes through, be able to get to the best use with the most effective and efficient delivery that we can. And then project outreach. We're hoping to meet the July deadline for that. And not asking for anything from you right now, but at that point, we would expect come back to you for a further update of where we are, and ask for the support of the roundtable just through a letter of support to stay engaged in that environmental compliance work, so that we can get a robust and thorough analysis of this project to be able to just stay in the game and move forward. So that's where we're kind of projecting to head. And where we are now and what the project is. I wanted to kind of move quickly through that, leave time for questions, any conversation. If I can help you, I'm sure some of the other folks that came might have some information for you as well. I believe the next slide brings that up. My contact information, if you don't have it, Jonathan Dollar, savory.lsr@gmail.com. If you do have questions, I'm happy to be available to you.
Someone here and membership list, so contacts that.
Yep, you can find that on the
Question. Thanks, Jonathan. We got Jeff over there.
Jonathan, have you quantified evaporative loss for the 130 acre area? I didn't hear if you said that. Did you say what?
I did not say a number on that. The studies, I don't have an answer for you right now. The
Okay.
studies are ongoing and some are completed. Larry or Pat, do you know if they've done an evaporative?
It will roughly be at that elevation, 260. 260. It's about 8,500. It's just a maximum floor elevation that should walk.
Gotcha.
About 260 acre feet is what they're saying would be the approximate evaporative loss. So I don't know if everybody could hear you, so I'm just reiterating what was said back there. So, yes, Jeff, you have a follow-up?
And Jonathan, could you just say more about the proposed land exchange? I didn't really get that. Why is that necessary and who's getting what?
Well, the land exchange is an associated parallel process to this. Really what it has the potential of doing is to take an opportunity to consolidate those management concerns of these different agencies. You know, for the state of Wyoming, it removes a lot of these, so these hash marks are roadless areas or wilderness. They're very difficult to access, and so these are state trust lands managed for investment and economic benefit of the state. So they can be very difficult to access for those purposes. So really, it's an opportunity to consolidate management and put that state lands around this reservoir. That will be for, you know, it'll be a state project at one point or another. So it's really just, it helps to consolidate and kind of mitigate the unnecessary complexity of having these various complications from the management entities being involved on the project. But, you know, as far as the NEPA process and that goes, we are in it right now, so it doesn't have an effect on limiting any kind of environmental compliance or regulatory approval, because we're still going through that process right now. It's just it's to ease the process along after the permit has been issued.
Bill?
Yeah, I was curious, and maybe Aaron can address this. I'm just curious, the complexity of administration on the Little Snake across Colorado and Wyoming.
We all are.
And how a reservoir would be administered for Colorado water rights.
I think an initial stab at that.
Sure.
Speak very loudly or come forward if you need to,
I'll give
please.
you an initial stab at that, because this goes back to when we constructed high state. So if you go to the Yampa-Colorado compact, and 44, there's a provision in there that specifically calls out the little snake. And under that component in the Upper Colorado compact, it says the little snake will be split 50-50 between Colorado and Wyoming. And so when we constructed High Savory Reservoir back in 2004, 5, 6, first time we really started 7, there's an AG's opinion from both Colorado and Wyoming because of that provision in the compact. One side can't deny the other side of the basin water. And so in other words, it doesn't matter where the storage reservoir is at. If there's service area on one side or the other, you can't deny users that. So that's the basic overstructure. You see, that's why High Savory was 100% state funded project to mitigate the city of Cheyenne's trans-basin diversion. 30% of the water allocated is for Colorado users. It's because of that provision in the Upper Colorado compact. It says that splits 50-50. It wouldn't make any difference if we built the reservoir on the Colorado side. Wyoming users, anybody below that facility is eligible for prescription or utilization of the water. So that's the big overarching picture of how that plays in. Now, back down to the the administration between the two states, I'll leave that there. That's the framework.
Well, and honestly, that's the question I was gonna ask Jonathan, but it would have been me because he doesn't have the answer to it. And I don't think Larry Hicks does either. You know, it's been a question we have had too, is how are we on a day-to-day basis going to protect water, at least from a Wyoming reservoir to serve Wyoming and Colorado water users with headgates in Colorado. So I don't think there's an answer to that.
I guess my follow-up comment is, how do you establish priority?
Well, it's probably by contract. You need the reservoir water itself, it's by contract.
Well, what I'm saying is the water user who, you know, if there's a Colorado water user, how do they establish priority
So the way,
or a Wyoming water user?
so the way that will work is you'll actually go through a prescription. So this is gonna have a 2000, whenever we actually file a water bank. It'd be a Wyoming water bank. But it'll be 2024, if we, you know, permit use for and the environmental impact. There's another provision in the compact, that says a compact point between an adult snake, which is the confluence of safety. That's another component on the water administration, and that goes back to, it's interesting to go back and read those minutes. So the Savory Creek comes in 100 feet downstream. Those lower users, even though they may be senior, can't call out a junior user above that. And that's a compact point within the upper Colorado. So you can actually be a junior user. You cannot be called out by a territorial one. Neither call only if you're above that compact. That whole component on the little snake in the upper Colorado compact is very unique. And it carves out a lot of special exceptions.
That's
You know,
kind of
that's a provision to.
that section.
And I will add to Larry's comment that for those structures below that compact point, that the point 100 feet down from the confluence, we already have an administrative schedule. So it's a schedule that was put together in 1954. We've been working to update it, but it was a schedule already put together. It's administrative, that's what we call it, schedule, but it directs us how to administer the water rights between the two states.
Yeah, and again, to add on to Aaron, that is in the compact too, and it says there shall be an interstate priority schedule between the two states. And it really doesn't matter if you're below the compact point or above the compact, it's administered strictly on priority, not allocation. Colorado gets that, Wyoming gets that. And that's a provision that says, and the two states, and then I will tell you, we're still working out all the nuances of that, particularly on some of the tributaries as to how that comes into play with different water rights in different states, because we have grounds in the Little Snake that have both permits from Colorado and permits on Wyoming on the same piece of that. So there's some really clever guys that went in and filed in both states, but we also have water that's diverted in Wyoming. Grant will talk about this on the west side canal. It's the largest system. There's 8,000 irrigated acres. Point of diversions in Wyoming, and it irrigates about 3,000 acres in Colorado. Vice versa, we got diversions in Colorado that irrigate Colorado. So it's complicated, but most of the framework is set up in the compact. The interstate priority schedule, the states have been working on that. And we learned something new every day. I hope that.
No, it helps a lot. Thank you.
And for me, I just deliver the water and I really don't, I ignore what state they're in. If I get a call from an angry irrigator, I'm running either way. It's usually two of them, but sometimes.
Jeff. Yeah, I was gonna go back to the question Jeff asked about the land swap. There were several of us that sat in on the public meeting they had that started the NEPA process here in Craig. Yeah, Doug, I know, and I think Will, and I would say a third to a half of the meeting was taken up by a pretty angry landowner up in your country about the state hadn't talked to him about land swaps or what was going on. And I guess really what I'm curious about is, are you coming to some compromises? Is that getting figured out?
There was a bit of a lack of communication, particularly with the grazing, that how a grazing lease would shift from federal to a state lease in those situations. I think a lot of that has reached a new point of clarity with a lot of these landowners. On the other hand, I think that some of these things are gonna just need to be continue to come forward through this process. Those folks did submit substantial comments into the scoping, so they will be looked at in depth as we move through this analysis and respond to those. So, you know, I think some of it has been responded to already. I know that they requested some direct communication with the directors of the Wyoming Water Development. I'm fairly certain they've had those meetings now. But, you know, they took a lot of that onto a one-on-one discussion under their water rights, and I think the rest of their concerns are gonna be addressed in this next process. If that helps.
Well, it does help. It was clear at that meeting that they hadn't been communicated with, and at least for those of us sitting here in Colorado, it was hard to see and not, I mean, they clearly even claimed they hadn't had any discussions yet, the state agreed to that. And I'm glad to hear that those are moving on, because it seemed like a pretty big oversight.
Yeah, and that's something in my position that I've tried to bring to the district is just some increased kind of communication and, you know, so I've been trying to do a lot of public outreach, and I do know that those particular landowners receive that because I've gotten calls regarding some of the stuff I've sent out.
Yes, good. Well, I support the project, and I mean, it helps Colorado land get irrigated. It's a net gain for everybody, so I hope everyone can make it work for them too.
Frank,
My question, and Jonathan, great presentation, and I think it's a great project too, but I'm curious, has there been any thought or analysis into what sort of magnitude you might ask for money through the water plant or water plant grant process, and any metrics on how that might figure into the calculation of what that ask might be?
We have not yet begun digging into any of those details. We've been kind of researching the opportunities right now, but I would say it'd be commensurate with that split share between Colorado and Wyoming.
50-50.
Well, and even more that, you know, the 26% Colorado side. You know, the planning is something that we've been moving ahead quite a bit from the Wyoming side right now. There's been personnel and interest from the Colorado and participation, but the funding of it, as anyone knows, has been through one of these processes. I mean, they're drawn out. It takes a lot of time. And as we get towards the irrigation season and things, you need to get someone that's kind of dedicated to those, rather than, you know, trying to fit it in after, you know, after doing all the field work and everything. So that's kind of what we're
And
looking
just
for.
to follow up, and maybe I misunderstood, are you trying to apply by July for this water plant grant?
We're gonna hope to, you know, I wanted to bring this to you all and engage you as interested, well, you know, as a geographically related partner, if nothing else. And have the discussion, but that's what I'm hoping to kind of put a focus to after this.
Well, I would just ask the question, are you guys familiar with the current funding package that we've got to do this? So this, through this planning process right now, the Audit Water Conservancy District and the Savory Little Snakes, so Colorado, Wyoming, Kennedy's applied for the PL 566 watershed. So they were awarded $1.25 million that to start the environmental impact statement, agricultural resources, biological assessment, thing that goes through that. The state of Wyoming is appropriated $12.6 million of that. 50% of that is to match. They've already expended on all the preliminary studies, roughly about $1.6 million of state money, but they're also matching those federal dollars. And so we know we're going to be a little deficient as this process moves through. Right now, the allocated budget for just this part of the environmental impact statement is about $2.5 million. And we're a little short on that. You know, so that, I think that's the reason, but that's kind of where we're at. We've got Wyoming state money involved right now. And we've got those federal PL 566 $2.5 million budget to do all of the assessment analysis and environmental impact statements. So that's kind of where we're sitting.
Good. I'll get to you, Chris. You raised your hand a little bit ago.
This is probably a very redundant question.
question, but, given the 12,000 acre foot water shortage, and I'm assuming that's mainly irrigated acres, is that correct? And the 10,000 acre foot size of the reservoir, how long, what are your models saying as far as fill up on the reservoir?
They're saying 8 out of 10 on this, 8 out of 10 years to be able to fill.
No, initial fill up phase.
Oh, initial, I think they were saying the first year it should fill.
The average annual yield out of that base is about 60,000. It's high elevation. And I'll come under that, so. It'll feel pushed.
As far as meeting that shortage, this would be operated in conjunction with the High Savory, which has a bit more variable snowpack up there, and so that's where it ties into kind of putting your, the eggs in 2 different baskets here and be able to kind of hedge your bets on the various patterns that come through. This year, that Savory Basin's, record breaking. In the last 2 years, it was dry as bone. So.
I want to ask the Basin Roundtable members if I could, please.
That's fine.
Thank you. Will?
No, I think you kind of answered my question on filling the gap, the irrigation gap, because you're roughly filling half of it by constructing the reservoir, correct?
Yeah, a little more than that.
That's a big win for agriculture, no matter what side of the board. That's pretty big. The one thing I was wondering though, is you mentioned help with the augmentation on the Yampa. I don't know, is that gonna really help if it's below the confluence of where we're over appropriated, or? I mean, we kind of know how that's gonna help out on.
As far as if water will show up down there.
Yeah, augmentation on the Yampa. I don't know how Little Snake River water is gonna help. But
And that's something, I don't know if these folks.
It's not just about the call.
Well, it's not augmentation in the context that you're thinking, Will. It's putting potentially additional water in the river below the confluence to help with recovery of endangered fish. I don't know that that's the intent or goal of this project. I mean, the goal, I think, is to provide water for irrigation. Obviously, some of that's not going to be consumed, now it's consumed, so it might supplement flows. But the critical habitat reach goes all the way down to the Green River.
yeah,
So there is a section between Little Snake and Green River that, if there are some return flows that make it all the way down there, can assist them.
no, for sure. And I think it's kind of just important to clarify that, before. If you were to tout it as like kind of a potential benefit. Augmentation might not, on the Yampa might not necessarily be a benefit with this, but that's kind of neither here nor there, I guess.
Sure, and these are kind of ancillary, effects. I was just, they're additional effects of the project. They're outside of the identified service area, but, even currently, our operations from High Savory, those return flows do resurface farther downstream. The Little Snake River will go dry, and then water will reemerge as surface water, and oftentimes have a flow that can go into the. That's kind of the context.
Yeah. Oh, late season flows are key, and this is gonna help boost that up, so that's even better, so. Another one.
Yes, sir.
It's just the measuring part. We go back to the measuring on this. And it's no different than your project we talked about earlier here that you guys had as a telemetry. Will fix all this. You guys have already helped us a lot with the trial. With that telemetry there, because that has helped regulate our valley's water tremendously, and that was huge. So if this continues on and goes through, that's where we go with the regulation. It's a simple process anymore because of the technology. And Aaron don't have to run down there and take care of the trial. Now it's there. It's on the, you just punch it in and it's no different than your project. It's helped us tremendously. And the return flows that go back into the river, the trial gets from High Savory already gets benefited quite a bit just from our return flows. So it's a huge process just all the way down the creek.
how it's gonna replenish the river all the way down.
Excellent. We're gonna wrap this discussion up. Ken, you mentioned you had something, you motioned me, you had something else.
Just. Senator Hicks is also the staff person that runs the conservation district up there, which has done how many tens of millions of dollars of work on the Little Snake. There's hardly a diversion up there that hasn't had some work done on it. Improvements for the head gate, the measuring devices, and the diversion in the river itself is often, a multi-benefit.
Along with incorporated fish passage.
Yeah, I mean, they are the model of what we really would like to do in this basin. So we, at some point, have you guys come back and give us a short presentation on the work that you've done. It's quite impressive. And maybe that'll help inspire us to see some real opportunities that we still have to take advantage of here. But I know you also have a watershed, a large scale watershed project that you're starting on. What, if you take just a couple of minutes and give us kind of a quick outline of what you guys are contemplating there in the headwaters of the Little Snake.
Well, this dam just fits into the overall picture of the rehab and restoration. We've got currently under contract with Forest Service and finding what they call a joint chiefs program, which is primarily focused on aquatic habitat and species and fire. So that's a program between the Forest Service, and they call it the joint chief of the Forest Service, and the chief of the NRCS and the Farm Bill. So they provide funding for that. So we received over a 3-year period, $5.6 million to do that. And we also have what they call a regional conservation pilot project with NRCS for the Colorado River Basin. They've got a separate priority area, and it runs all the way to the confluence down in California. We've got a project that we worked with some of the entities in the Yampa River Basin already, and that basically is to use traditional farm bill program funds. We put a focus and an emphasis on migratory wildlife and protection of landscapes with that program. That's a $12.1 million program. We've got funding that's in there. It's a couple of conservation easements. Nature Conservancy on Carpenter Ranch. There's some money in that contract with our CPP that we've got. And they're working with some of the Yampa Valley. And so all those things all fit together. It's just, the old saying, the river runs through it. It's all based on the quality, the aquatic environment of the river, the hydrology of the system. And we've been working as a cooperative agency with the Forest Service on this landscape and vegetation analysis on that. And just had an opportunity just yesterday when I think started a large collaborative and both state based working on the Forest Service. There's a lot of good things going on out there. A lot of money out there. Now's an opportunity to do a lot of this good collaborative work on the landscape. So anything we can do to help this part of the basin, I'm more than happy to come down and spend some time. I'd love to have you guys come up. That road runs both directions. Yeah, we'll come down anytime we can, to help out. Just kind of give you a template of what's going on. But we've already formed some pretty strong partnerships here in the area, and I think that's an strong.
Well, we might just have to take you up on a tour sometime in the fall when you guys get caught up. But congratulations on all the work that you've done, and I think there's a real opportunity for us to learn from the great work you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you all for attending and joining in our conversation tonight. Thanks to the roundtable for joining in and having a great discussion here. Next item. Aaron.
I'm sorry, it's me. Yeah. I don't really have a lot to report, but I'm sure individuals are wondering about what's the status of our measurement rules. So I thought I'd give you a quick status of our measurement rules. I think I've already let everybody know that the protest period ended. That was at the end of December. We received 7 protests for various water users, and those protests are available on our Lace Fish website if you want. The other thing of note, so at this point in a rules process, we have to then start setting project deadlines. And we actually did have a trial setting conference with the judge on Monday. All 7 parties, well, 6 of the parties were there. And then, of course, our attorneys from the from the Attorney General's office were present. So the judge has set a trial. It's about a year from now. And what that does when you set a trial is it starts setting deadlines for people. So the first documents that will have to be filed are actually by the protesters, the people that protested. They are the ones that actually have to prove up their case because the rules are what they are and they need to prove that they're not proper. Or there's certain things that shouldn't be in them. So that's where we are right now. You know, again, it just sets the time clock in motion and the first documents will have to be filed by the protestants. That's all I'm gonna talk about today. I know it wasn't 10 minutes, it's not even 2. Any questions?
I'm gonna shorten it next time.
I'm gonna add, can you fill us in on the bill that, Kelly Heaney's gonna do, what do you know about that bill? Kelly Heaney's working on.
River restoration projects.
Yeah, can you fill us in on that?
There's not a lot I can, though we've been informed on that, and we were actually having a meeting today as I left for the roundtable on that. But you've probably seen the bill. It's very much designed to ensure that whatever restoration projects are installed would not injure any water users. You can't store water, you can't put it on wetlands to consume additional water. So from what I've read and understood, they've crafted it and drafted it in a way that the desire and goal is that it would not injure any water users. But beyond that, I think, you know, your best means of educating yourself on this bill is to go ahead and read it, but there are some pretty protective guidelines in it to, again, ensure that protection. I don't know the status of where it is in the legislature. I don't know if the House has, you know, approved it or what. I don't know if this is the status.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just real quick, I guess in reading through the rule thing quite a while ago, it seemed like there was an approval process for your diversion structures. When I asked Luke about that, he told me, well, don't worry about it, you're approved.
Yeah, you know, and actually one of the protesters, that was their one and only concern really was how do I get approval of my structure? And so we're working with that protester in particular on that. My thought and my process right now, and even in the process of trying to resolve this protest, is I've already drafted a letter where my letter says your structure's approved. I haven't really thought far enough to think, is that something we need to provide to every single water user that has a measuring device in place that we need to find approved? Probably not. I'm hoping more so that we can create a port that, you know, we've used a big database called Hyderbase where we can enter all types of stuff. And I think it makes more sense for the water commissioner and or myself to be able to go in that database and say that it's approved. So I can't say that we've gotten as far as knowing the exact process, but right now I've started the development of people. So yeah.
I guess as a water right owner, it'd be nice to know that
Absolutely.
you officially have an approved diversion structure and measuring device.
And I think we really did envision it as a simple process. The water commissioner approves it, we mark such in the database.
Because your device wouldn't be approved, but then it's much to fix it. So the water.
Yeah, over time, it might.
Right, so you're gonna be in constant communication with the water.
He'll tell me when it's not.
Oh, yeah, he'll tell you. Hopefully.
I just add one more thing, you know, I mentioned this case being set for trial. Ultimately, our goal, and I hope that a year from now, we're not at trial. Our goal is always to resolve objections or this case protests, so, we already, this one individual, or entity was wanting confirmation that their measuring devices are approved. We should have them out of the case very soon. Other protesters have filed a protest just because they want to be involved and informed in the case. That's not how this process works, and so I think we'll be stipulating with those individuals really soon as well. In other words, as a protester, you have to put on your case, and if you don't have a case, you're just interested in kind of seeing how the case evolves, then I guess you don't have a case to put on. So anyway, ultimate goal, we will not go to trial on these measure priorities. That's my opinion.
Okay. Anybody online have anything for Aaron? Thank you, Aaron. Patrick?
Yeah, no, there's Mindy said that there's an informational meeting about the proposed stream restoration legislation tomorrow morning, sponsored by the Audubon Rockies. There's an informational meeting tomorrow. Ask Mindy.
Mindy Figueroa?
Yeah, the Audubon Rockies is sponsoring a 45-minute informational session on the stream restoration tomorrow morning. So if you just go and Google Audubon, Colorado stream restoration meeting, it's part 2 because they already had a part 1, but there's a Zoom link. You just have to register and they'll send you a Zoom link and you can participate, but that's tomorrow morning at 8.
Okay. Doug?
I'm sure that'll be a non-biased presentation, so.
Doug, do we need to make the record show? Nice, I love it. Thank you. All right, if nothing else, well, yes, Matt.
One quick, perspective of the board. Last week was the Family Farm Alliance annual meeting, and we had every, congressional person in every office of water in the western United States there. It was a very interesting discussion, but we need to realize that there's a lot of opportunity right now in some of the different, the group that I work with 8.3 billion in the West and another 4 billion on top of that. So there's $12.3 billion for water infrastructure. There's no reason why the Yampa Roundtable with the upper end of the system can't be looking at that. And I guarantee you there's no priority of how it's going to be spent yet. There's a lot of discussion about how to do that. But I guess I think we ought to be weighing in. I think we all ought to be weighing in on that. There's unprecedented dollars, whether it be forest restoration stuff or actual infrastructure. I think it's an opportunity we'll never have yet. So I just suggest.
Pat, does the Bureau of Reclamation have any formal granting process for that 12.3 billion?
It's in discussion right now.
It's in discussion. Thank you.
No. Thank you. Jeff and Ken.
Why don't I start?
Yes.
And then Ken and Tom can jump in. Patrick, can you launch the
I'm working on it.
little short PowerPoint here? Let the record reflect that our 10 minutes begins at 8:20. So
I have been keeping track.
I will try to
Aaron,
be
you use your
brief,
full
although
10 minutes.
that's
Nine.
not my best thing. Okay.
Don't give them your extra minute.
Next, just hit that next slide, Patrick. I know that you have read and studied the Yampa-White-Green position paper on the Colorado River pricing and probably have the text memorized. But in case you don't, it's kind of divided into these 3 segments. There's a preamble that talks about our strategic interest in the prices and a reminder that we in the upper basin, and especially in our river basin, have already experienced shortages through this drought in the form of natural, what we like to call natural curtailment. So we're sort of setting the stage in that preamble. Then we go on to talk about 9 specific points, 9 things we want to address in the short term and drought relief. And then After that, a segment on the 2007 interim operating guidelines update, which will take place in 2026, or maybe even sooner, the way this wind's flowing now. And there are 5 points about, 5 key points about that. So that is what the position paper is that you've seen, you've read, it's on the website. And a lot of work went into that. It came together in a very short time. Okay, what we are going to ask you for tonight. Patrick, can you get that? What we're going to ask you for tonight is formal approval of that position paper. It went out in committee draft on the 23rd of January. If you're uncomfortable with that, if you feel funny about the fact that there's a draft that's been distributed generally to CWCB, IBCC, and others because of the timing of that, if you're uncomfortable, you have no one to blame but yours truly. It's not Tom's fault, it's not Ken's fault, it's entirely on Jeff. We just couldn't get a Big River Committee meeting together in early January. The January meeting that was right before the roundtable produced some very significant thoughts and edits to the paper. Madison just wouldn't be quiet. And we just kept on adding stuff. And it took about 10 or 12 days to redraft that thing and have it really vetted and edited. Claire did her usual amazing job of editing the paper. And so it was ready generally by about the 23rd or 24th of January. Because there were so many things coming up right then. There was a CWCB board meeting, there was an IBCC board meeting. We kind of vetted that through the executive committee and sought opinions about whether or not we could go ahead and draft form. It passed the Comstock litmus test, in fact. And so we turned the thing loose generally. Again, that's on me. We just couldn't get organized to do it any faster. So far, we have reviewed and discussed that with the Metro Roundtable in a very productive way. And we've got scheduled discussions with the Gunnison Roundtable and the Colorado River Roundtable coming up towards the end of March. Ken and I are either going to go or participate by Zoom. We've kind of already got a discussion format down for that. And I would say this, last comment before asking for the vote. The reaction to the paper has been kind of on two ends. And Al, you jump in here because you've been in contact with a lot of people. But at the roundtable IBCC representative level, I'd say the reaction has been generally really positive. People have been grateful for the effort, and they said, you know, thanks for getting all those ideas down in that way. No one has said, I agree fully with your position, but they've been happy that we were able to organize those thoughts and help them to think through their own position. So I think that was good. At the CWCB board level, leaving staff out of it, at the board level, the reaction has maybe not been quite as positive. And that we've heard from a couple of board members, you know, we don't need another oar in the water right now. The lower basin's looking, and if every roundtable starts staking out territory, that might not be positive. I do not feel that we need to apologize for that. I think in general, we've set out things that are important to us, and basically what Becky Mitchell and the negotiating team have done has been right in alignment with the core of our position. Maybe there are a few little West Slope things that don't align, but in general, I think we're supporting what the negotiating team has worked on with the lower basin. So with that, I will be quiet and ask. Yeah, Tom, go ahead.
Hey, Jeff, I don't really have anything to add. You've done a great job. I think we're see if there's any discussion, but no, I won't take up any time.
Sonia, I see you got your hand up. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, hi. I am I hate to say it, but I'm a little bit out of the loop on this one. how is this distributed? I feel like I didn't get it. And I don't know if I missed it, but yeah, can you just give a little more info on who it went to and how?
Uh, that's a miss, Sonia, if that happened. The paper is on the website in draft. And I thought everybody in the roundtables got notice of where they could go to find that. So,
Is emailed out.
yeah,
Yeah, and I thought we were looking, we asked for comments, we didn't get any back.
right. Right, so
Just
I'm not sure how we missed you.
It's
It might
email
be-
lists, gotta remember update email lists at the first of the year, so Sonia may have not have used a personal email list, may not have been on that.
Okay,
Um,
I certainly want, if you're among those who didn't get a chance to read that thing, I am happy to take post production comments, and if there are minor edits that don't affect the general sense of the thing, I think we can work with that. Sonia, I apologize.
Oh, no, I appreciate that. And, honestly, I mean, I am new to the group, so who knows exactly where it went. I just feel as though it would be really irresponsible for me to vote on a resolution on a document that I haven't had a chance to review, especially when I'm supposed to be representing the Board of County Commissioners. So I'll abstain from the vote on this resolution in this particular moment, and then take a look at the position paper and just make sure that.
Read, you've got my number, you can call me and email me at any time.
Sorry, Steve, you're stretching.
No. So I'm on board with Sonia. There was a draft 2.0 that went out on the 22nd of January. And Tom Sharp wrote a very detailed email about what he considered were deficiencies in that. And there was a couple of conversations. And Al said something on the 23rd, added to that string, and then it never came back. I never got it in the email. I never knew that there was a file out there. I saw 1.0 or whatever. I thought I saw the 2.0, but I never did see how.
You never saw 2.1.
I never saw 2.1. So to this day, I don't know how to address Tom Sharp's comments.
We did address those.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm just saying, I never saw that, and I knew you were kind of waiting for Tom and Doug to come back from the River District to make sure that that everybody was kind of going the same way, but I never did see the final, what you're asking us to vote on today. I've read 2.0, but not 2.1.
The document that's on the website is 2.1. And it followed only a day or two after that. And I thought you must have seen it, because I thought I had an email from you saying, I think we should go.
You did, right before Tom Sharp commented. So so I read 2.0, and I said, yeah, I'm good to go with that if Tom and Doug are still come back, and they still want this direction quickly, but I never did see how you addressed Tom Sharp's comments.
Okay, I'm not sure what we should do here. 2.1 is what's on the web.
2.1 is up on the
That's
website.
addressed.
And
Tom Sharp's
that's what we've been visiting folks about.
Go ahead, Alvin.
No, Bill has something here.
Oh, I'm just saying, I'm looking at my emails right now, and I don't see that I ever got anything of that.
Okay. Then I'm gonna say we need to table this.
Okay.
I'm not saying we can't. We've got some other meetings coming up to present this to and to keep moving forward. And the first one, the last folks, I believe, did understand that it was still a draft. It was not adopted by the roundtable.
Right.
They
It
understood.
says it's a committee draft.
It is a committee draft. They understood that. So, yes.
All right.
What I was gonna suggest is I would like to stay progressive with this so we can get this thing formalized at some point. what I'm going to ask, and I don't know if this is appropriate with the rules or not, so I'm gonna be looking out for help on this one, so. Shoot out if I screw up and stick my big 13 in my mouth, so. Is we send this thing around. And and if we have to, we'll do a short noon meeting. Brief, very brief. There will be one agenda item. It will be this. And we'll ratify it, and we'll get it ratified. Because right now, I believe the consensus of the roundtable is favorable to this, is what I've seen. But we've got apparently something that happened where there was a lapse of communication, and it's honest error in our with our group. So let's get this sent around to the group. 2.1, and then I'll get with you, our Big River Committee guys. And then we'll set up a date and we'll do something at noon. I can take that. We'll set up an
Is
agenda.
there any precedent for an email vote? Or
We can
rather
do
not it that way?
digital, apparently with our new bylaws. We do have that ability.
Whichever, at your pleasure, and I will make darn sure.
Okay,
that
and if I drop the ball, I apologize, folks. This don't happen very often, if ever, so. But it did. Here we are today.
You know, it could also through me, I may have not sent it out, so.
It could be, so we'll work through this. Let's not have this a deal breaker. But we'll get something squared away next week on the time for us to get all settled in. And we'll do a Wednesday at noon. We'll just stick with a Wednesday at noon. Is what I see if we can.
Telephone works.
Well, I know it is. I'm right there with you, man. So, and maybe we can do it by email. Let me figure some of the stuff out. I'm sorry.
May I suggest that we send it out email when you're ready to send it out? And we ask, is there any objection? If there's an objection, we'll have a meeting.
Yes.
Only takes one person to have an objection, and otherwise, we don't hear back by a date certain, then it's approved.
Because the other thing we can do is you can email me back. We'll send out a group email. You email me back individually. You cannot email each other. Then you email me back and then we can, as ratifying it, saying yeah, or that you approve or disapprove. And then we can go forward and next meeting we ratify it. That's another legal means that I know we can do this.
Okay.
I can send it out right now.
So the one that's on the,
I'll follow up with an email to the group too to
So
explain.
it's
why we-
2.1.1, right? I want to make sure I'm sending out the right document right now. Draft 2.1-1. That's the document, correct?
That's it.
Okay.
Hey, Patrick, I don't think you tell me where it is on the website.
During the PEPAL update, I'm gonna do that since evidently I've got everything else. So,
All right.
Okay, we're
Online
making 4
folks,
minutes into our time budget for our 10-minute report.
Yeah.
Just real quickly, Patrick, can just touch on what happened at the IBCC. My opinion, as he's launching that, is that it was our most productive IBCC meeting that I've ever attended. I think we're really moving in the right direction.
well, I have nothing to compare it to, other than, I mean, not as a participant. We had the report back from Amy and Becky on the strategy for negotiations was spot on. They did a great job. It was concise. And clearly, it's very easy to understand, clearly aligns with what we're talking about. You know, and let me clarify that this paper is not like this edict that's gonna like suddenly be sent to the ground or to the Water Conservation Board, and they're gonna put it on the agenda to discuss it. This was a way for us to put down in writing our thoughts and concerns, and they're gonna be unique in the Gunny and in Colorado River and in South Platte and the metro area. They're all gonna be unique. I think what we were just as people were not even as much curious about the content as it was the process. They were curious, how do you put this together so quick? This was really interesting. This is thoughtful. We appreciate it. I thought there were more curiosity about, and what to me this meant was that we're more likely to use this as kind of a springboard for more conversations throughout the state, out of the different basins, comparing our ideas. That's how I would describe it. So,
I guess I had a few conversations with a couple of other chairs. And these were just in the bar, we just got together and just ran into each other out in weird Denver. And they agree that there's several concepts that they're basically probably not gonna agree with, but there's several that they were. What they wanted to see is there areas that we can mutually agree upon and carry those mutual areas forward to the IBCC and actually say, okay, guys, IBCC, this is your job. State, this is your job. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what the roundtables are saying. We're the grassroots. Now, this is what we're bringing forward. This is our job. Now do your damn job. Because like these guys said, this was probably the most productive IBCC meeting that I've witnessed in quite a few months. And there's more to come as these roundtables start working together. Because right now you've got all these roundtables sitting there in a silo over the past couple of years where they haven't been working together. They've been struggling. Your roundtables have actually been floundering out there because they've lost kind of some of their purpose and their path. Their purpose and path is coming back together when we start seeing the state and the UCRC and the bigger river basin start making these things that impact your ways of life without you having any input. Well, damn it, that's our job to provide that input and bring it back to the state. And when they're not listening to us, that's when the roundtables get together. That's when the Westlow Summit really happened. And that's when we shake some cage, rattle some sabers up there and to get some stuff done. And we were successful. That's what I see some coming here. Might be something little, but at least it's something that we can all agree upon and envision and move forward unified. Sorry.
I think the other big thing that came out of it was just that we talked about the C9 summit. You know, do we want to start? What is the IBCC's purpose? Why is this committee? Why was it part of the 1177 Act? And we think that encouraging collaboration, getting out of the silos, talking to each other, learning from each other is probably something that the IBCC should play a bigger role in. And the Water Conservation Board staff, I think, agrees. So that's where we went. And I don't have anything else I want to talk about right now.
Okay. We'll move on. Thank you, gentlemen, for all you do.
Thanks for your confidence.
Yep. All right, Ken, just stay there. Patrick.
I'm going to turn this over to Amy. She's our representative from Yampa-White-Green. Yampa-White-Green is a nonprofit NGO that works on environmental education. And they have been a cornerstone of the Public Education Participation and Outreach Committee for our roundtable. And we're going to share with you approximately 10 minutes of information about all the success that they've had to date and what they're going to get, what they're working on here for the next year. Take it away.
Great, thank you. So I'm Haley Cunningham. I'm the water education coordinator for Yampa-White-Green. Oh, I need to read.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm just going to turn it down.
I wish I could memorize it. But. So this presentation is about the Yampa-White-Green Basin Youth Water Education that Yampa-White-Green delivers through the Colorado Water Conservation Board's WSRF grant. And Yampa-White-Green is a 501c3 nonprofit. We teach in Routt, Moffett, Rio Blanco, and Jackson counties. Yampa-White-Green was awarded the current 3-year grant in 2020, and in the last few months, we applied for a 2-year grant to continue our K-12 water education in the Yampa-White-Green Basin. Yampa-White-Green Youth Water Education, we serve to meet a large portion of the public education participation and outreach goals for the roundtable. And we educate the future water decision makers of our basin with the hopes that they will keep, this basin's uniqueness and its needs in mind as they grow up and become our decision makers. So Yampa-White-Green has been around since 1992, and we remain the only environmental education organization serving Northwest Colorado. Our mission is to inspire environmental stewardship through education. We have a small but tenacious staff of currently 4, usually 5 full-time staff, as well as a few part-timers and seasonal staff a year. And we deliver free in-school education to those 4 counties that I mentioned, and 3 counties here in our basin. And then we also do out-of-school programs for municipal parks and rec departments, other childcare organizations like Totally Kids in Hayden, as well as Boys and Girls Club and Rocky Mountain Youth Corps. We have a summer camp, which is based out of our Legacy Ranch location in Steamboat. Last year we served 180 kids in summer camp. And that runs from, I think, second week of June every year to the second or third week of August. And then we also have adult community programs that we do outdoor education for in the Steamboat area. So, Yampa-Tika is the organization that the roundtable contracted to provide this youth water education and serve to be an outreach unit for the PEPO's community goals. The first was to develop an education action plan and deliver state and basin relevant water education. So in all of our lessons, Yampa-Tika is, incorporating place-based geography. And we really try to focus on the interplay between the unique human development of this area, as well as our natural environment. That's specific to the Northwest Colorado landscape. We upkeep a Water Speakers Bureau as part of this grant, which is a compilation of local water experts. And we can call on these experts to come and speak in class, to students, or help with special events, or help on our field trips. We partner with other organizations in the area for education, such as the U.S. Forest Service, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, Rocky Mountain Youth Corps, Upper Yampa Water Conservancy District, just to name a few. And sometimes this is for a standalone program. This could be for special events or field trips, and also sometimes multi-day learning experiences. For PEPO goal number 3, excuse me. Yampa-Tika's water education lessons, we focus on water stakeholders, infrastructure, drought resiliency, the Colorado River Compact, water quality, and agriculture, just to name a few topics. And as you guys know, those topics they all relate to the BIP and the Colorado Water Plan. We also participate in community outreach events such as the River Fest. We participated in Craig's River Fest last year, their inaugural River Fest, Friends of the Yampa River Fest, among other events, as our capacity allows us to. So we have in-class programs that are free when school's in session. Field trips, we offer classroom resources to teachers for free. So we have what are called discovery boxes in a lending library. We store all of our supplies at our Legacy Ranch location. Although some of us live on this side of the Yampa Valley, so we're happy to coordinate, pick up, and drop off of those things outside of Routt County. But it's free curriculum, it's free lesson materials, and free books that teachers can take and borrow to utilize in their classes with some guidance from us. We individualize them to their needs. So if they want to talk about weather, then we give them a binder of weather curriculum, whatever materials we can provide for them so that they don't have to go out of their own pockets to go and get those materials, and kind of give them a jump start on their lesson plan if they want to do it on their own in their own class. Excuse me. In terms of our field trips, some of the locations that we have taken students is Circle Park in Meeker, Deirdre McNabb's Ranch outside of Rangeley, Dry Lake Campground, up on Buff Pass, Rabbit Ears Pass, Yampa-Tika, Yampa River State Park, Stagecoach State Park, Doug Monger's Ranch, Rocking Sea Ranch, just to name a few, Loudon Simpson Park. And some of the people that we've had on our Water Speakers Bureau over the past 3 years to come and talk to kids, Todd Hagenboo of CSU Extension, Holly Kirkpatrick of Upper Yampa Water Conservancy District does a ton with us at the field trips down at Stagecoach State Park at the dam. Michaela Estina and Clinton Witten of NRCS help us out a lot with our snow surveys at our Snowtell site, or their Snowtell site. Tyler Gilman of Mount River Water has helped us out with some high school programs, and I'm sure more than that since I've been here. And Dr. Sullivan of CNPC has also helped us in our Rangeley Ag. Have a tickle that just keeps going. Okay. We also serve as an information hub for the teachers. So if there's professional development opportunities where they can kind of finesse their knowledge in water education to bring that into the classroom, then Cheryl and myself, we can help them, direct them to the workshops and kind of keep that flow of communication on our professional development. And we also hope in the future to be kind of the trainers for some of these workshops as well, so that teachers aren't necessarily having to travel so far. Northwest Colorado, we definitely see a need for these professional development workshops up here. And so we hope to fill that gap by being the educators of the educators, so they can take that knowledge back to the classroom about water education. And we also, for example, Paulette Hanks, who's the environmental science teacher at Meeker High School, she really wanted to do the Riverwatch certification this year in October, and reached out to us and asked if we could provide funding for her to participate in that workshop. We could not provide funding, but we did direct her to the White River Alliance, and they were able to find some funding for her to go to that workshop. So now she's Riverwatch certified, and she can bring that, into her high school class. And that's a partnership with Colorado Parks and Wildlife for volunteer crowdsourced water quality monitoring data that happens all across the state. So this is just a snapshot of some of the water topics that we provide. This is not an exhaustive list. We pride ourselves on being able to do, hands-on relevant science with kids, and they can take those skills and build upon them as they get older. But we've been into Colorado history classes in 4th grade and talked about water. We talk about water law. We do nature journaling. We have art classes and integrate math. So our programs are very interdisciplinary, even though they may be science. You would think outright that it would be very scientific, but so our curriculum development is guided by teacher demand, but also the Colorado education standards, as well as the basin's goals and outreach. And we do customized programs for teachers if they come to us and say, hey, I really want to have a multi-day learning experience where we go on an excursion and we learn about this thing, then by all means, we love to hear about that, and we work with them to coordinate and facilitate and educate during those events. And if they're, really busy, as many teachers are, we also have standardized lessons that are a bit more popular. And so they can just kind of pick from that list and say, can you come in on this day and teach this thing? And I don't have to think about it anymore. And we're like, sure. So we can kind of customize or keep it standard to whatever the teacher needs. So the 2021, this is a busy slide. Sorry, so we'll start with the 2021 or 2020 and 2021 school year. That was during COVID, and as you all are, I'm sure, remember, school was a lot different then. So the 2021-2022 school year was really the first formal normal trial year for in-person education. Although during 2020 and early 2021, we did provide virtual education when that was requested. We did small group outdoor education, and that was also the first year of the grant where we were really developing the education plan. So work was happening during 2020. But by the end of last school year, over 1,700 students had received water education at least once from Yampa-White-Green within the 6 districts that we work in. And that's about 25% of the basin student population. If we think about duplicated numbers, so kids seeing us more than once, by the end of last school year, it was almost 4,000 touch points for water education for 2021-2022. This year, we are well on our way to surpassing 25% by the end of the school year. And we are definitely seeing, I'm experiencing it in classes. Kids are remembering us and they're remembering what they're being taught, and they're building upon knowledge from even just really one full year of in-person education. So that's really awesome to see. So what this looks like up here. So our grant deliverable is that we need to, in the 6 districts within our basin, we also have private and charter down there included because they do ask for our water education as well. We also work with homeschool groups who are not included here. But the check marks indicate that we met our grant deliverable of seeing at least one middle school class within the district, or at least one high school class within the district. So that's what the check mark means. That could mean that we saw 3 high school classes, but we needed to see at least one. And then the circles, elementary, given that there's 6 grades within K through 5 in elementary, our grant deliverable there is that for at least one elementary school within the district, we've seen 50% of their kids. So that's 3 grades. You know, 6 divided by 2. But the percentages that you see here are actually for all of the elementary grades within the whole district. If that makes sense, not just one school. So as you move from, we tried to color code it, green being, yay, we did it. As we move it forward in time, you can see more green appear throughout the columns to the right. And the last column is our projected. We already, we scheduled many months out, so we're projected almost to the end of this year, as long as those classes happen.
Question.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, why is the Randy percentage about half of everything else up there, even the second lowest number? They're in the bottom tier across the board.
Yeah, so we definitely still have room for growth in some key areas of the basin. Rangeley School District has proven challenging to kind of get our foot in the door. We have seen the Rangeley Ag classes for the past 2 school years, which is encouraging. I was able to see the 5th graders last year for at Parkview for water conservation. We always do targeted outreach, especially those that we've seen before and would like to see again. And so those teachers have been contacted, but we haven't heard back. Another thing is across the board after COVID, I'm sure you guys hear about it in your community, the schools and the staff, there's a lot of turnover. It doesn't really matter what district we're talking about here. We've got superintendents leaving or being asked to leave. We have principals taking those positions or principals not coming back, or teachers deciding they don't want to be teachers anymore, and we've got to replace those staff members. So that's part of the fluctuation here too, is sometimes we've got a lot of staff transition that's happened in the last 2 years that can make continued communication, can kind of slow that down.
Is there something that needs to be done then to do additional outreach to get them to participate? Or, are we doing the best we can, or is there more that we can do?
I definitely think that there's more that we can do. I'd love to have a conversation with people in the Rangeley community about what our best avenues for outreach could be. I think maybe we need to, finesse our outreach strategies for different parts of the basin. We have such a huge geography. So I would, that's something that this year I would really like to.
That was a challenge that was brought early on to Yampa-White-Green, that the geographical features, but we wanted to make certain that there were no gaps, that every school was represented fair and equal. And I look at that and I don't see that. And if there's something that I need to do or roundtable members can do, I'd be happy to participate in whatever fashion, as I've offered before. to integrate us with the school or to facilitate a conversation. But I have not been asked.
Well, that. We had the same problem in Moffett County
Yeah.
schools. And I literally set up a meeting with the superintendent and took 2 members of the SAT with me and convinced them that it's free and doesn't cost.
That's right.
And, yeah, so that may be what needs to be done.
And our superintendent is consistent. He's been there now for 8 years better. So I'd be happy to assist with that.
Okay, yeah, and that was an ask that I was gonna bring up later in the presentation is, y'all's community networking is an invaluable tool to help us, deliver that youth education. So by all means,
I didn't mean to get ahead of myself.
no, that's okay. I'm glad that you brought it up. Does anybody have any other questions on the slide? This is our most data slide.
Just a real quick one.
Yeah.
Have you done anything with North Route Charter School?
Yes, yeah, we do. I know that they're hiring for a lot of positions right now. But I can tell you just from this year, I know that we've seen the kindergartners. 3rd and 4th grade came out to Legacy Ranch for a weather field trip. If I'm missing anybody, I bet Cheryl's sitting there behind her computer, figuring out who we've seen that's from North Route. But yes, we do a lot with North Route. They were very active last year.
I have a question too, and I know Jackson County is not within this roundtable, but where do they stack up with this? Are they similar to like Rangeley, another very, or have you had more success in Jackson County?
That's a really good question. They are a much smaller school community. They have taken quite a lot of advantage of our free water education. I myself haven't gone over there just because my focus is for our basin. So usually it's a part-time educator or Cheryl may go over there and put that time and effort into another financial bucket for them. But they take advantage of our programming quite a lot, including water ed. I think somebody was out there today or yesterday.
What does that look like in terms of boots on the ground at schools, like one every week, one every couple of weeks, or engagements that you have?
We at our busiest, so our part-time educator right now, he works Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He's been working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of every week during the winter. Cheryl and I are the primary educators, and we're usually out there for 4 of the, and all of our districts except for Steamboat are on 4-day work week, or 4 days a week at this point. So we're teaching in a class usually 4 days a week.
So
Both of us.
yeah, that doesn't really reflect on this, but you guys are pretty busy doing engagements, like
Really busy.
Yeah, we are certainly bumping up against capacity.
The next grant should have them with a little more capacity.
Yeah, and we would really love to. Go ahead,
I'm
Cheryl.
going to jump in just about our capacity. We are extremely busy, and I'm in the middle of hiring another part-time educator for the spring and fall when we're the busiest. And I've also had someone in Craig who is in the teaching profession express interest in starting to work for us in the fall as well to increase our capacity to do water education, especially in the western part of the basin.
That's really helpful for me to look at this slide and say, it's not like they're just not getting to it, but you're just really busy. I mean, like everybody else, you're actually engaging almost every day of the week. So that's helpful to know.
And if you do want to see more granular detail to our work, part of our grant is that we do send in a 6-month grant report to CWCB early August and early February. So all of those grant reports, we just finished the six-month report for this grant cycle, and we're working on the final grant report. So those are available. You can reach out to me. My
On the
email.
website in the projects folder,
Yeah, he's got it. Okay, so you can see us in more detail. It gives a list of all the classes we've seen, where they are, what river basin they're in. How many kids, the duplicated and unduplicated numbers. It's very detailed if you want to know more. So as we think about our next grant cycle, I'll try to keep this brief. We certainly want to be more inclusive about our education by translating more of our lessons into Spanish and working with ESL and bilingual classes. We want to train the trainers in our workshops, and we're working with Water Education Colorado right now to bring a Project Let workshop to teachers this summer up in this area. We certainly want to emphasize our career pathways component and work on getting some internship programs for some of our college students in this area for our seasonal and part-time positions, either new or existing or new that we will create. And we have a lot of applied learning opportunities that are just getting piloted now. So for example, Upper Yampa Water Conservancy District did the Yampa Youth Water Festival. We have Yampa Valley Science School, which we do with Rocky Mountain Youth Corps, and the River Watch program. Ways to be engaged. So biggest thing, as you mentioned, as you can meet with us, we can try to coordinate, in these areas where we do want to see more growth. Your community network is going to be your way into the community is going to be so helpful to us to getting to teach kids in your community. If you're interested in being a guest speaker, let me know. My email will be on the final slide. We would love to have you. You can come and see what we actually do, shadow a program, volunteer at an event, or also general organization is super helpful as well if you don't want to really be in front of kids. And certainly connecting us to additional funding sources if you feel that our mission and the PEPO goals align with that. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Questions for you?
Or also, if you're an organization that wants to have more youth education integrated into your work, that's where Yampa-Tika has that niche. I've been corrected on that term before. That's our niche, so we can certainly help you create education experiences for kids that you serve.
Steve gave a really good example of one of the things that you as roundtable members and supporters of the roundtable can do, and that's to provide those introductions and those connections. That was the main thing that I wanted to just mention as my part of this is that we're going to have canopies, 2 of them. They're for public events, a 10-foot by 10-foot. They'll look nice. And we're going to have the one space in trade for Rio Blanco and Rockland counties, and we'll have one more up in the Seawood area for the events that we have. We're going to have a calendar of events. I'm going to ask all of you to try to find one of these events, and we're talking about rodeos, parades, fairs, large, community picnics, community gatherings, special events like a river festival or a dog trials. But someplace that you say, I'm definitely going to go there. I could pick up the canopy and bring it, and we'll see if we can't find somebody else to be there with you. But it's your chance to be one of the non-attending the PEPO meetings supporters of the PEPO program. It's a big part of the outreach. It's just I'm challenging everyone to try to find at least one of those events that you can participate in this summer. This is a critical part of what we do is outreach. Jeff's not a member of the PEPO committee, but we went to the Routt County Cattlemen's meeting on Sunday night. And, all of us should be trying to find at least one other organization that we attend at least occasionally to go in and maybe talk for a few minutes about what's going on with water. Do your Rotary Club. there's a lot of opportunities that we can do. We don't have the excuse of COVID anymore. We can get out and be neighbors and go in, and there is not a crowd out there that doesn't want to learn a little bit more about water. And I maybe you're not the best public speaker, but I guarantee you have important things to say. Patrick, you wanted to talk a little bit about, we're gonna come back with a calendar at the next meeting in May. We'll show you how to sign up and participate in this whole thing. We did put some money in the budget to pay you $50 to pick up the canopy, set it up, tear it down and put it back. So, but Patrick, you wanted to talk a little bit about your website and a couple other.
Well, yeah, so quickly, I mean, there's people questioning about not seeing stuff here. If an email doesn't get out and you guys want to know what's going on, I'm going to show you 3 ways to get to all the committee pages, okay? Right, so first of all, on the main homepage, you guys don't mind, I'll take it quickly here. All right, you're at the main homepage, you scroll down here, here's all the upcoming meetings. Right, so we just had the Big River meeting this morning. If you click on the meeting packet agenda, it's going to take you to the Google Drive for that particular meeting and any information for that particular committee, and then you can look at particular months. So if anything that Jeff gives me or anything I put in for the PEPO committees, grant committees, the same way is going to be right there. That's one way to get to that. I really hate having this bar on my way. Another way, if you scroll down on that, if you can forget that way, if you click on the committees page, sharing. Let me close that. And just need to move the stupid thing bar out of the way. Or cross it this way so I can see what's going on. All right. I'm not showing my screen right now. Stop share. Okay, but share screen.
After 7 hours, I figured you'd have this all sorted out.
Yeah, well, I thought I was trying to get set up and open the tabs up. So if you scroll down to the bottom of the web page here, there's a couple resources tabs that you might want to look at here. The resources tab, the committees tab, and for the new members, the handbook tab, right? So this is all going to take you to the different, and members tab, you can see who your members are. So these tabs are here in the bottom. I'm not going to go to the members tab. What I am going to pull up here is if you click the committees tab, it's going to have all the committees in here. And, you know, I'm going to have to try to keep all these links up differently. But if you look at the Big River Committee and expand it, you can get to all the different meeting information in there. Here's the crisis on the river. So that's going to take you to the folder of everything the Big Rivers Committee's been working on. Okay. You go to the resources tab, there's even another thing to get to all the different committees and all the BIPs and stuff and the water plans and stuff. So keep in mind the website is your resource. It's all there. If you don't know where something is, send me an email and I can get you to there.
And it is updated regularly. I look at this thing probably 3 or 4 times a week. So, and there's always new stuff popping up that's surprising me. So I know we've got several people with their eyes on this thing. So yes, quickly, we need to wrap up.
Okay, yeah, I just have a comment. I mean, if all that can help in Rangeley, I think you're having the same problem at Hayden High School and Meeker Elementary or the middle school. If there's anybody in Meeker or Hayden, a roundtable member here or online that can help with the introduction to get Yampa-White-Green in, because there is the school districts that are missing the opportunity. And you know, those teachers want to do it. It's really breaking through the district folks to say, hey, can these people come talk to your teachers about assisting them? The curriculum comes from
all of Meeker Elementary, they have been super great the last 2 years. We're doing a water day later this year. Meeker Elementary's on it.
Okay.
Around. You know anybody at Maroon? We'd love to talk to them again. And yeah, Rangeley Elementary and Rangeley Junior High and Hayden High School. I live in Hayden and I can't get into high school, so if you know somebody.
All right, that's what I have.
All right, thank you. We're gonna wrap up. I have a couple of announcements here. I spoke with Mike Robertson. He's the director for the Yampa River Fund. He asked me to share, the application period is open for projects throughout the Yampa River Fund. There's approximately $186,000 allocated to the projects, and the application period is open until April 3rd. For more information, go to the yampariverfund.org. State of the River Talks are coming up. Be looking for emails coming from there. I can't tell you all what dates they all are, but I know.
So,
but-
Craig is March 22nd, Steamboat's, March 23rd, Rangeley,
April 5th,
something
like that. So, but the River District will be sending out some notifications for that as well. So, I want to thank CNCC. I know I've been working with them on here. They've actually said, you need any of our facilities, you need professors, you need whatever, you ask. And they're community oriented to come in here and help us. So, thanks to them, shout out to them. And I do visit with Dr. Jones periodically, and I'll be visiting with her tomorrow morning as well. I also want to share, we've got the May agenda is, I'm going to say 90% filled. And we're already building on the July agenda. So if you have something in mind, I suggest you come forward rather quickly. And we've actually been kicking people to the curb and saying, you got to go back to the next, or we're shortening things up. So demand is starting to pick up again. So now that we're coming back. So tonight we had about 60 people online here. If you didn't notice, I know Steve shared that with us. This was a well-attended meeting tonight. So with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us.
Motion to adjourn.
And
Second.
thank you. And everybody,
All right.
we'll talk with you soon.